the source of all that ails this poor, once loyal planet. The Basilica of St. Leonis, the high command structure of the Vraxian PDF and Labour Auxilia forces, and of course the less savoury residences of the cornered warlord Zufor and his new, loyal followers. This was the last bastion of the Vraxian uprising. When it was finally brought to its knees, the war on Vrax, which had lasted for a torturous 18 years, would finally be over. But it would require one last Herculean effort on behalf of the 88th Inquisitorial Siege Army to finally breach this fortification. It was the oldest and the most expensively developed of all the fortresses situated on Vrax. Standing atop a nigh impossible cliff, it would have to be assaulted by massed infantry formations, fighting their way up the steep cliffsides and the handful of approaches meter by meter, whilst constantly under fire by innumerable artillery batteries, both light and heavy, and of course the various wall-mounted defences. Autocannons, missile launchers, mortars, bombards, heavy bolters, stubbers, and every last las and autogun that the defenders could marshal. And due to the limited access routes, only a single regiment could assault the massive edifice at a time. And the choice of the first regiment to be hurled against it was the 261st, commanded by Colonel Tybork, hero of Fort A453. The selection of the 261st, and in particular of Colonel Tybork, was a symbolic gesture, and in part also an affectionate one on behalf of Lord Inquisitor Hector Rex. It was a recognition of the 88's long and bloody history on Vrax, and of the fact that those who had once started the war would now have a chance to finish it. Although no one truly believed that the 261st alone would be able to break open the citadel. No one would be so uncouth as to put it into words, but pretty much everyone recognized that after the 261st had almost inevitably been shattered against the citadel's walls, another regiment would be fed into the grinder, and then another, and then another, and then another, until the job would finally be complete. But such gloomy thoughts went above Colonel Tybork's pay grade. All he had to concern himself was to make the most out of his regiment's turn up the line, and so he devised a plan based in part of Lord Commander Julka's own ideas. The entire regiment would be committed en masse in a single, massive three-pronged assault. Nothing would be held back, and no reserves would be kept by the 261st. Reserves was for unexpected developments, sudden breakthroughs, or enemy counterattacks, and Colonel Tybork did not expect either to be a particularly large concern. If one of the three prongs was shattered by a counterattack, well, so be it. The other regiments were nearby and would be able to stop any attempted breakthrough without much in the way of trouble. And Colonel Tybork had long since resigned himself to the fact that this assault would almost certainly be the death of his regiment. Thusly, there really was nothing to be gained by keeping reserves. All it would do was dilute his forward elements and force him to feed his troops into the meat grinder piecemeal, instead of making the most of his regiment's strength while he still possessed it. But before we look at Colonel Tybork's plan, we first need to look at the defences he was up against. This is the Vraxian Citadel. The red areas denote larger and smaller gun batteries, along with bunkers and fixed emplacements. There are also, of course, the walls surrounding the entire compound and leading off to smaller resistance nests, massive armoured towers equipped with heavy gun batteries and automated defences. The vast majority of the area surrounding the citadel is completely impassable, blocked by steep cliffs and natural obstacles. The only way in or out is through 4 large roadways, all of them defended by multiple gun batteries and, of course, mined quite thoroughly. The artillery bombardment, which at this point had lasted for 2 months, was expected to have cleared out a fair few of the explosive surprises. A second, more directed artillery bombardment would focus on the avenues of approach that Colonel Tyborg designated. This would clear out yet more, and engineered formations would be operating throughout the night preceding the assault to clear out as many mines as possible, and also to remove any further obstacles placed along the roadway by the Vraxian defenders, such as tank traps or ditches. The Gorgon heavy assault transports would not care overmuch if the road was heavily pockmarked by artillery shells, and as for the tanks, well, they would be unable to support the first assaults anyways, and so there would be plenty of time to repair any overly egregious damages to allow the tanks to approach later. But for now, the infantry would have to do most of the heavy lifting. But before the dying in the God Emperor's name could commence, one final preparatory bombardment would be launched. Colonel Tyborg had already been in communication with the various artillery officers, instructing them as to where he would like to see them concentrate their shelling and what he hoped to see them achieve. The primary objective, of course, would be to clear the approach routes so that the heavy assault transports could carry the infantry into assault range. Secondary priority should then be given to stripping the walls of as many of their automated defences and emplaced guns as possible. And as a third and final objective, if the guns could be so kind as to smash a hole or two in those walls, or even better, in the massive gatehouses, then that too would be quite lovely. For otherwise, the infantry would have to blast them open on foot. This would necessitate the deployment of Death Corps engineers with specialized detonation packs and shaped charges, and would also require a lot of time. Time which the assaulting elements would then have to spend sitting prettily outside of the walls, fully exposed to their defenses. Now granted, at this point, the 15,000 guns of the 88th had been bombarding the fortifications for nigh on 2 months, and one may be excused for wondering what one more bombardment could possibly achieve. But, well, the Death Corps of Krieg is not the questioning sort. And besides, a touch of light support shelling has never hurt anyone. Except for the people it kills, of course. And after the barrage, the assault would begin in earnest. It was a mighty bombardment, the kind that makes even Death Corps guardsmen look up at it and wonder, could anything truly survive that? In despite of the fact that they know that that query will be answered with a resounding yes in a very short period of time. And the first group of poor bastard guardsmen to receive that yes was a diversionary attack up the northern slopes. This was an ad hoc formation made up of various elements of the other companies of the 261st. The men had been specifically selected for their skills at skirmishing and marksmanship. They would form an improvised light infantry formation that would attempt to make their way up the northern slopes, outfitted with specialized climbing equipment and weaponry. They would attempt to convince the defenders that the Death Corps' main attempt would be made towards the Basilica of St. Leonis. It was hoped that the perceived spiritual importance of the Basilica would convince the defenders that the Death Corps really were crazy enough to try and take it, despite having to do so up the near impassable slopes of the northern side, and thusly redeploy considerable numbers of troops to counter this perceived threat. Once the skirmishers were fully engaged, the first company would then move up, At first they would pretend to reinforce the light infantry, but as they came within range of the enemy's defences, they would then swerve off and make a beeline straight towards the Cardinal Gate. The first company would be supported by Gorgon heavy assault carriers, and they would lay down a withering covering fire. It was hoped that most of the enemy's defenders would at this point have been deployed to defend the Basilica, leaving the gate open to a sudden assault. Then, leaving just barely enough time for the enemy to react, the 7th Company would launch their attack upon the lower gates. This was expected to be the least heavily defended of the day's 3 objectives, and it was also expected that when the enemy realized that they were under attack on 2 completely separate areas of the citadel, they might be thrown into confusion as to which attack was truly the real one. And with 2 full companies and an additional large force of light infantry assaulting the citadel from 2 different directions, it was hoped that the enemy would now commit his reserves. And after allowing for yet another lengthy period of time to pass to convince the enemy that this truly was the full force of the assault, Colonel Tyborg would then mount his Gorgon and lead the 15th Company towards the 3rd and final objective of the day, the Great Gate. The 15th Company would rush towards its objective as quickly as possible. Relying on the enemy having already deployed their reinforcements, they would seize the outer defensive towers and then make towards the gate. Once the outer defenses had been cleared out, Atlas recovery vehicles would be moved up. They would begin repairing the roadway approach to the gate and clearing out any remaining mines, after which the 5th Armoured Company would be sent in to support the Grenadiers of the 15th Company. The armoured vehicles would have to proceed up the Seoul approach route in single file, and any tank that got knocked out would simply have to be pushed straight off the precipice by the following tank. It would be a brutal and careless approach, but with the arrival of the armoured elements, they could use their heavier weaponry to blast open the gates and allow the Grenadiers passage through the Great Gate. If this was achieved, then the Grenadiers could quickly fan north and south along the walls, knocking out gun emplacements and routing the defenders as they went, along with establishing a defensive perimeter inside of the gate. Once this was achieved, the company would then vox back, and the entirety of the 88th Siege Army would pour into that opening like a never-ending flood, sealing the fate of the final Vraxian citadel. As far as plans go, it certainly wasn't a bad one. And as far as plans meant to assault a nigh-on impenetrable fortress went, it was actually a fairly good one. If the enemy was so cooperative as to move in the way that Colonel Tyborg wished, then maybe, just maybe, the Great Gate could be breached. And once it was down, the game was pretty much up for the defenders. And the assault upon the Basilica of St. Leonis was a particularly nice touch. Both because the defenders, regardless of whether or not they had now gone fully chaotic or still under the command of the Cardinal, would almost certainly expect the Imperials to make a concerted effort towards what they expected them to think of as the primary objective. And considering the loud and vehement objections on the behalf of the ecclesiarchy in the months preceding the assault, they were not necessarily wrong either. And if the Cardinal was still in command, it was an even better bet that he would concentrate the majority of his forces to defend what he viewed as the seat of his power. And when then suddenly apparent reinforcements turn and instead attack the Cardinal Gate, an attack that is then swiftly followed by another attack upon the seemingly relatively unimportant lower gates, a man like the Cardinal might swiftly panic and place far more value on stopping these attacks than necessary. And hey, Lord Inquisitor Hector X had been getting really lucky for quite a while now, and perhaps some of that luck would rub off on Colonel Tyborg. And finally, the date set for the great first assault rolled around. Colonel Tyborg had organized his men. The first wave would be the light infantry making their way up the northern face. Then behind them would come the 3 companies in staggered series, with Gorgons leading the charge, with yet more foot infantry following up behind the Gorgons. The Gorgons would get as close as they could before either being knocked out or running into impassable terrain. Then it was up to the Grenadier elites aboard the Gorgons to charge out and seize whatever terrain they could, to bring up the infantry, which would then expand upon the gains by the Grenadiers. And so, meter by tortuous meter, the 261st would advance. But first, of course, all of the guardsmen got to take in the light show, as practically every single gun in the 88th opened up for the preliminary bombardment. And once the men were done enjoying the fireworks, the first lines of light infantry began to move towards the northern slopes of the citadel. And if you were so unlucky as to find yourself partaking in this attack, this is probably where you would want to be if you had some ridiculous ambitions of living throughout the day, because this diversionary attack was expected to simply look like a real threat to the citadel, without ever actually being expected to be a real threat to the citadel, which meant they needed to keep their numbers up and avoid unnecessary casualties. They would be allowed to advance as they chose, when they chose, in whatever fashion they so chose, and they could defeat the various Vraxian positions in front of them piecemeal, whilst enjoying the full support of rear-line artillery and armoured elements. And once the light infantry had drawn an appropriate amount of attention from the defenders, the first company was sent in the apparent manoeuvre to reinforce them. Then the Gorgons broke off sharply and headed towards the Cardinal Gate. And this is when the fighting really got started. The appearance of the Gorgons and their apparent direction towards one of the main gates made the enemy aware that this was not merely some skirmishing attack or probe. This was going to be an all-out assault. And so, the heavy Vraxian artillery, still located within the citadel and inside of the walls, began hammering down upon the first company. It didn't take long until the Gorgons were fully bracketed by anti-tank weaponry and artillery of every sort. Heavy bolters, stubbers, and autocannon rounds rang harmlessly off the thick frontal assault ramps of the Gorgons, whilst artillery shells constantly boomed and burst overhead, showering the transports and the following infantry with red-hot shrapnel. Behind the Gorgons followed armoured elements that would advance as far as practical, whilst adding their own firepower to the advancing transports, and in amongst them was yet further infantry and Centaur light carriers, dragging the regiment's light artillery pieces forward. These guns would soon deploy and begin showering the internal area of the citadel with high-explosive fragmentation rounds. And finally, all the way at the rear, the Grenadiers would move up behind the tanks and behind the light artillery. The 1st and 7th Company would let the Guardsmen occupy the Gorgons and take the brunt of the casualties, whilst the Grenadiers were expected to expand upon any ground they took. Unlike the 15th Company, where the Grenadiers were expected to gain the vital ground and then guide in the reinforcements. Progress was, as expected, slow and bloody. The 1st Company was advancing in the face of one of the remaining laser defense batteries, and its primary armament had not been disabled by the 2-month bombardment, nor by the preliminary bombardment. And so its monstrous primary ordnance, the anti-orbital laser defense weapon, was slowly yet unavoidably lowered to point towards the advance of the 1st Company. The massive weapon was designed to engage targets in orbit, and its gun depression was not ideal for engaging ground targets, and the 1st Company would soon be out of its line of fire. But until they were, the Vraxian defenders were intent on wreaking as much havoc as possible. and their first shot certainly signaled their intention loud and clear to the first company. The hugely fat, iridescent beam of blinding energy shot out from the battery and played across the advanced elements of the first company, leaving 3 full Gorgon transports as no more than molten wrecks. The men they once carried reduced to nothing more than ashen particles scattered by the hot winds. Off to the southeast, the 7th Company was beginning their advance on the lower gates, and running into just as fierce, if not even fiercer, resistance. To begin with, everything seemed to be working out just fine for the 7th Company. They would be approaching the lower gates, a relatively lightly defended, it was assumed, objective, and they would be crossing ground that had already been cleared out by the artillery batteries. The outlying areas had been hammered for 2 full months, along with the citadel itself and its void shields, and the enemy's positions on the approach were all expected to have been annihilated. An expectation that was proven tragically and suddenly false, as the lead Gorgon transport of the 7th Company, containing within it the commander of the entire company, disappeared in a superheated ball of hot flame and plasma, as a bunker, expected to have been destroyed, fired upon it at point-blank range. And seconds later, the entire column of the 7th Company found itself under sustained and murderously precise fire from point-blank range. Most of the bunkers were still intact, and was now hosing down the entire formation with heavy bolter, stubber, rocket and las cannon fire. The rest of the Gorgons immediately dropped their assault ramp in a desperate attempt to disgorge their infantry complement before they suffered the same fate as the lead transport. But within mere moments more, virtually all of the Gorgons were either burning or retreating, with only some of them having been able to deploy their guardsmen. And the following infantry elements suffered even worse than the Gorgons. They were still marching in tight, ordered ranks in amongst the tanks, seeking what cover they could from the armoured behemoths. But exposed as they were from the close-range flanking fire that now opened up on them, hundreds died in seconds. The 7th Company had been caught squarely in the jaws of a Vraxian trap, and they would pay dearly for it. Unable to push forwards and unable to withdraw as well without exposing themselves to further fire, all the 7th Company could do was to hunker down, seek out whatever cover or concealment was available to them, and wait for nightfall, and then they could finally orchestrate a withdrawal from the approach towards the lower gate. And with the 7th Company's assault upon the supposedly lightly defended lower gate completely checked, there was no reason to devote any further reinforcements to that area from the Vraxian side. And so, when the 15th Company and the 5th Armoured Company began their advance up the narrow, switchback road towards the Great Gate, the defenders were fully ready and had plentiful reinforcements available to them. Nevertheless, an attempt had to be made. The 15th Company's Gorgons, carrying their Grenadier elites, continued towards the gate in the lead of the assault. They, unfortunately, did not make it very far. Barely halfway up the approach, they were forced to halt and disgorge their Grenadier complements, lest the Gorgons be destroyed utterly. Already, several of the lead transports had been knocked out, and had then been pushed off the switchback road to open up the path for the other transports. The Grenadiers charged forward in a desperate attempt to reach the Great Gate, but it was all for naught. They were quickly bracketed and pinned by heavy automatic weaponry and near constant mortar fire. The 5th Armoured was then ordered in a last-ditch attempt to break open the approach, and maybe, just maybe, the Grenadiers could then form up and advance behind the Lehman Russ tanks. But despite a valiant effort on behalf of the 5th Armoured Company, that hope was swiftly shattered. Instead of swiftly moving upwards to rescue the Grenadiers, the tanks got stuck in just the same fashion as the Gorgon transports, Every time an armored vehicle got knocked out, the next one in the line had to move up and use its dozer blade to push it out of the way. And subsequently, the tank doing the pushing was then immediately targeted by the very same anti-tank weapon that had just knocked out its fellow. And the best case scenario then was that the tank would gain a handful of precious meters before it too was destroyed and required removing. And far from rescuing the grenadiers, the tank crews found themselves in dire need of rescuing, as they were forced to abandon the one vehicle and then the other. The only company still making progress was the first company, but that too swiftly came to a halt as they ran into a as of yet uncleared minefield. The remaining Gorgons had long since been immobilized. The Grenadiers were now fighting their way over exposed terrain, whilst also being threatened by anti-personnel mines. And with them picking their way slowly and tortuously forward, all three of the first attacks had officially grind to a halt. The fourth and final company of the 261st was now sent in to aid the various advanced formations. The 15th and the 1st received the bulk of the reinforcements, whilst only a smaller force was sent to relieve the 7th. There were further companies and Death Rider assets standing by from other regiments, but they would only be relieved if there were signs of an imminent breakthrough, and the 261st could not have been further away from it. Nevertheless, the 4th and final company of the 261st moved up to support the advance elements, and for a time, the fresh troops created a brief moment of forward impetus for the 1st and the 15th. But the reinforcements were unable to reach the 7th company and open up a retreat route for them. If the company could have been pulled back and reorganized, another attempt upon the lower gate could have been possible. But in the current situation, the 7th Company simply had to hunker down in amongst the burning wrecks of their transports and tanks and hope for the best. The 1st Company would continue its offensive, although any true hope of breaching the Cardinal Gate had long since vanished. But by keeping up the pressure, the Vanaxians were at the very least unable to free up substantial forces which they could have sent to the lower gate. If they had managed to organize a counter-assault force, then it was entirely possible that the 7th could have been overrun and thusly completely eradicated, turning an already disastrous situation into a truly catastrophic one. As for the reinforcements moving up to support the 15th, they had a bit more in the way of success. The road was so utterly covered in craters and blasted up armored wrecks that they provided a considerable degree of cover to the advancing troops, although the officers moving up alongside them noted a significant demerit to this situation as well. There were dozens of armored vehicles stranded and burning along the route. They had been pushed just barely out of the way, just enough for the following vehicle to get past it, and not clean off the sides as they had been instructed to do. It would appear that even the men of Krieg were at heart human, and being ordered to push the wrecked tank of your comrades, with your comrades quite possibly still inside of the tank, off a steep cliff, condemning them to certain death, was a hard order to follow, even for the Death Corps. And whilst the 4th and final company might find reason to appreciate that now that they were seeking cover from the enemy's blitzing rain of fire whilst they were advancing, the next force that was ordered up this route would not. The shattered wrecks of tanks formed a near impenetrable barrier of twisted steel and metal. Infantry could easily enough make their way around, over, or under the various wrecks, depending on whether or not they were on fire. But any armored elements that would attempt to navigate this path in the future would find the going slow and tortuous in the extreme, as it would no longer be a question of moving a knocked-out tank out of the way of the next lead element, but instead moving dozens of twisted wrecks off the path. Wrecks which the enemy would have had plenty of time to toy with in the time between the assaults. The Vraxian defenders were far from shy when it came to creating booby traps, and a Leman Russ tank that would have to be pushed out of the way by other armored elements? Well, pack a few large-bore artillery shells in that thing, along with a bit of a sensitive trigger, and you have quite a practical joke for the next poor bastard that wishes to move it. But that was a problem for somebody else, and the commander of the 4th Company had plenty of problems all of his very own as he led his guardsmen up the slope. They eventually hooked up with the grenadiers and the armored crews that had bailed out of their tanks. The tank crews were ordered to join in the advance. They would not have the luxury of retreating and would have to grab their carbines and las pistols and move up as improvised infantrymen. Now freshly reinforced, the ad hoc formation consisting of grenadiers, guardsmen, and tank crews made another effort to push forward. The remaining elements of the 5th Armored Company advanced alongside the infantry, and slowly but surely they began gaining ground once again. The officers of the 15th Company displayed incredible bravery as they stormed forward, raising their power swords as signals for the men to follow them. And the 5th Armored, not to be outdone by the infantry, rushed forward heedless of the danger. The suddenly renewed impetus of the attack must have caught the defenders off guard, because their fire slackened, and the ad hoc formation made it to the small plateau just in front of the Great Gate. Of their armored support, there was only now a handful of tanks left, 12 to 15 vehicles at most. The majority of the 5th Armored Company was still stuck all the way at the bottom of the switchback road, unable to fit even so much as a fourth of the company on the path at once. Some 800 armored vehicles were still standing by, lobbing relatively ineffective long-range firepower up at the Citadel's walls, whilst awaiting signal from the Grenadiers that the gates were open, and they could begin rushing forward. Although, with all of the new obstacles, that might not be quite as much of a rush, and more of a slow, snail's pace. The commander of the 5th Armored Company had already anticipated this, and ordered Atlas recovery vehicles up just in case the rest of his tanks were needed. But for now, the remaining 15 vehicles of the lead elements would have to be enough to breach through the Great Gate and allow the Grenadiers entrance into the Citadel itself. It looked like the 15th Company might just have made it. Through some miracle of timing or enemy carelessness, they had gotten all the way up to their objective. And all that was needed of them now was to breach it and swarm into the fortification. Once inside, the Grenadiers reckoned they had a more than fair fighting chance to hold out against any Vraxian counterattacks until further infantry companies could be brought up from supporting regiments. However, the real bad news for the 15th Company was just about to begin. The Vraxians had not been caught by surprise by the reinvigorated assault from the 15th Company. They had hoped for just such a happenstance. They had allowed their defensive fire to patter away just enough to give the enemy an opening, whilst not seeming too suspicious. And it was also partially due to necessity, as any mortal troops, be they Vraxians or Imperials, caught in the area once the Sanctified closed their trap, would be in dire peril. As the allies currently being summoned by the Sanctified were not too particular from whence the blood flowed, as long as it did flow, and appearing from the thin air and launching themselves off the curtain walls were a tide of demonic monstrosities. The 15th barely having any warning but for a slight taint of ozone to the air and an unnatural crackling sound, found themselves under assault by hellishly red monsters, appearing in their midst, wielding meter-tall demonic blades that screamed as they sliced the air. Having already suffered horrendous casualties, the 15th was not prepared for such an enemy, especially not one appearing straight in amongst their midst. Quickly, their armored vehicles began backing away, firing every weapon at their disposal, even if they might catch allies in the blast, knowing full well that to be sliced apart by one of those demonic blades would be a fate far worse than to be caught in the backblast of friendly fire. Some of the tanks panicked and backed up too far, falling off the edge of the small plateau. The grenadiers formed up in firing squads, leveling their hell guns at the approaching monstrosities and brought them down one by one with massed volleys of hellgun fire. And whilst their backpack power sources were being rapidly depleted, there was no other option than to keep up a hammering barrage on full auto. The guardsmen were faring less well. The Lucius pattern lasgun certainly has its merits, but its lack of a full auto or even a burst fire mode put it at a severe disadvantage when it came to putting down a charging hellish monstrosity armed with a sword almost as large as you are. Scattered officers were shouting out orders, desperately trying to reorganize their guardsmen in disciplined formations, where they could levy organized volley fire against the demons. It would leave them exposed to the remaining wall guns still firing down upon them, but they would die even more swiftly, scattered, unorganized and alone against the bloodletters of Khorne. And for a moment, it seemed as if they might just do it. The Grenadiers had given the Guardsmen precious seconds with which to get organized, and both groups were now seeking backwards to the protection of the hammering heavy guns of the tanks. But off in the distance, the great gate began to grind slowly open, and from within the citadel, a horde of hellish red juggernauts charged out, making the very earth shake beneath their tread. Against their thick, demonically armored hide, the scorching beams of hellgun and lasgun fire were but pinpricks, and the handful of Lehman Russ tanks that managed to lower their main weaponry in time only knocked a few of them off their feet before the entire horde slammed into the remainder of the 15th Company. They tossed tanks away like children's toys, hurling them off into the abyss behind them, and they scattered the ordered formations of the Grenadiers and Guardsmen. Soon the demons were in amongst them, and began hacking and slashing them down to the last man. In the face of such a ferocious counterattack, even the discipline of the Death Corps finally broke down, and the remainders of the Grenadiers and the Relief Company began to fall back down the slope and down the switchback road in complete panic. Though little did it avail them. Fleshhounds of Khorne were already leaping in amongst the fleeing men, tearing them down and ripping them to shreds, as the demons too pounced after them and the juggernauts rampaged through their fleeing lines. Within minutes, the 15th Company's 20,000 men and the 10,000 men of the relief column were no more. No fighting formation, but a scattered handful of shell-shocked and terrorized survivors that one by one slowly trickled down the slope and into the protecting lines of the surrounding regiments. With the demonic counterattack shattering the 15th Company and the elements of the 5th Armored, the assault upon the Great Gate came to an end. As night slowly fell across the battlefield, the 1st Company and the light infantry elements also began retreating from the battlefield. The 7th Company could also finally begin to withdraw its troops under the cover of darkness. All in all, the 261st had been mauled beyond even the most pessimistic of expectations. Lord Hector Rex had expected the regiment to be able to continue to assault for at least a few days. Instead, it had been utterly and completely shattered within the very first day. The 15th Company, originally 25,000 men strong, had been practically eradicated, with just a few hundred being rolled into the other regiments of the 30th Line Corps. of the grenadier elements dedicated to support the
Legalább
15th, they were
a
practically
böködök
dead to a man,
elfogytak hamar.
having held their ground in a desperate attempt to cover the retreat of the company, and of the 5th Armored Elements also sent to support it. They, too, had simply ceased to exist. All in all, the attempt upon the Great Gate had cost the Death Corps of Krieg some 30 to 40,000 casualties. All of the armored elements that had not retreated prior to the demonic counterattack was lost. The Gorgon transports, too, lost. And the crew served heavy weaponry, the autocannons, the rocket launchers, the heavy bolters, mortars, and quad launchers brought up to directly support the advance, lost. For the 7th Company, it had hardly been much more of a pleasant experience. Having been pinned down and shattered almost from the get-go, the ragged survivors had spent the entire day being shelled and constantly bombarded by automatic weapons fire in plunging fire positions. Out of the original 20,000 guardsmen, barely 5,000 remained to withdraw when night finally came. Of the 5,000 men operating the crew-served weaponry, they had fared somewhat better, being behind the main advance. The reinforcements, unable to break their way to the 7th Company, also was mostly undamaged. As for the 1st and the light infantry, they too had been mauled, though nowhere near to the same extent. They had suffered a mere 30 to 40% casualties. And as it tends to be with the Death Corps of Krieg, the Officer Corps had been particularly heavily affected. The Death Corps officers, always leading from the front, always trying to make an example for the rest of the men to follow, had been cut down almost to a man. Of the higher command corps, there were none left. The whereabouts of Colonel Tyborg was unknown, though none had seen him fall. But for all intents and purposes, his regiment was done for. Virtually all of the commissioned officers had died, and command of the 261st fell to the senior-most company quartermaster, who had survived by sheer virtue of the fact that his calling kept him in the rearward lines of the fighting. The 261st was deemed combat ineffective. And previously, during the earlier phases of the siege of Vrax, when reinforcements were plentiful, it would have been pulled off the line and sequestered in the rearward areas, where reinforcements could be prioritized for it, and an entirely new officer corps could be organized. But right now, there was no such time nor luxury. The remains of the 261st would be rolled into the other regiments in the 30th Line Corps, though the 261st regimental number would remain in the 88th Army Book, if for no other reason than to honor their sacrifice. As for the rest of the 88th Inquisitorial Siege Army and Lord Hector X, this was not ideal. The defeat of the 261st had, frankly, never truly been in question, but for it to have been so swift and comprehensive was quite disheartening. The final citadel was always expected to have been a tough nut to crack, but more progress than this had been hoped for. And ever painfully aware of his political opposition, Lord Hector felt the need to produce more favorable results swiftly, and so he moved up his own bold masterstroke. The next offensive would be led by the Inquisition itself and would feature the services of the Red Hunters Adeptus Astartes. They would be deployed in a manner similar to that used by the Red Scorpions, but they would receive the additional support and direction of Inquisitors in the field. It would be a considerable roll of the dice, this plan, but if successful, it might just crack open the citadel in one fell swoop. Preparations were already underway, and the initial planning had already been done. The cooperation of the Red Hunters had also been secured. They were always more than willing to assist the God Emperor's Inquisition in any way possible. regardless of how optimistic the plans may have seemed. Now, Lord Hector X had gotten away with some damn optimistic planning up until this point, but this newest ploy of his... it makes all the other plans look downright pessimistic by comparison. But that will have to wait for the next video. Until then, I have been Arch. Thank you all very much for watching, and I hope to see you all again soon. Have a good day.
Nem mostam ki az övet. Véletlenül ott maradt. Öt font. Pár hónapig kihúzta. Simán jó. Fölött még jó minőségű. Oké. Mosás numero 2. Bedobom most. Kakják mellé. És a húzatot. Átfelekedjem majd kicsit húzós. Bedobom ezt.
Greetings and salutations, friends, and welcome to Field of Glory's 2 battle system, as demonstrated with a Field of Glory Empires exported save, where we are going to be bullying some poor unfortunate desert people with the might of Carthage. This combat system is a very interesting one that I like quite a lot. And it's based very heavily off another game called, Field of Glory Empires 1. Or Field of Glory, 1, obviously. But also one called Pike and Shot. Now, the Pike and Shot era is one that I'm quite fond of. And seeing as Pike and Shot is one of very few games in that era, basically, in existence, I obviously picked that up when I discovered it. And I found that it had a very unique combat system that relies very heavily upon the movement and positioning of units, as well as giving the units a certain will of their own, is probably what I'd call it. The units can do glorious things. They can do brave things, they can stand up to superior enemy forces in the face of overwhelming odds and really save you the battle. Or they can utterly shit themselves and be worthless. They might give up your flank with barely any effort whatsoever and send you plunging into despair. Entirely possible. And this is based on a bit of an RNG system with combat. Now, usually I'm not the hugest fan of RNG combat systems, but all combat and strategy games eventually come down to some level of RNG, and I feel like this one does it fairly well, because it presents a really compelling narrative. The battles have a story to them, due to the actions of individual units. I had one really cool example a little while ago. Ah, damn. Has the universal select gone away already? This is one thing that does annoy me, so you can see I could move the entire unit there a second ago, but now that I'm a little bit too close to the enemy, I can't do that anymore. And it's also tied to having generals in certain positions. I really wish this was just like a control system. I can, you are group 1, you are group 2, because moving them like this is a wee bit on the laborious side, honestly, but relatively minor complaint. Where was I? Oh, yes. I had a very interesting battle. A little bit out of range. I shouldn't actually have moved them that close, because now I'm going to let them actually throw stuff at me, but oh well. I had a very interesting battle in a campaign as Rome just a little while ago. The Romans play very differently from the other factions. That's a bonus of both Field of Glory Empires and of Field of Glory 2. The various nations and factions play quite differently, really differently in fact. Unlike, again, Imperator Rome to some extent, if you pick a different faction in Field of Glory Empires, you might find yourself faced with an entirely different set of mechanics, an entirely different rule set, even in fact. Playing one of Alexander's successor empires is very different to playing, for example, Judea. Playing Carthage is very different to Rome. Carthage is a merchant republic. They're probably going to be pretty damn wealthy, able to buy both manpower and mercenaries if they wish so in huge numbers, but their manpower is very limited. I think they have a 50% penalty to manpower, which is fairly severe, as you can probably imagine. Whereas Rome has no manpower issues. Rome can build huge armies, they can equip vast numbers of men, and they can just be a complete juggernaut. They, of course, also have their unique units in the form of the Roman Legion, which, when you move a unit into this game, when you export it over here... Ah, damn it. Well, that was particularly unfortunate. I really didn't want to see that happening. That's really annoying. I was hoping they wouldn't charge me, but they decided to do so. Then the units are transformed into... God damn it, you're supposed to be running away when you... Well, at least they fell back. They will get transformed into different units. So, for example, in my army on the campaign map, I have 2 units of elite infantry. My sacred band over here. And they, as you can see, are transformed into 4 units, since each one of those are worth 2 points instead. In the case of the Roman legions, you don't even just get 2 of the unit, and some units get 3, by the way. Instead, you get a combination of Principe, Astati, and Triari on the command, which is really cool. Horse archers as well gets divided into just regular horse skirmish cavalry and medium cavalry to demonstrate the fact that these horse archer hordes usually were a mix of these different forces. Really cool system. Now, I could probably charge you with a decent chance of doing some serious damage. But before that, I'd love to disrupt this unit a little bit. I can't. Okay. How about you? Yeah, you can do it. Good. I'd hope to swing all the way around there, but sadly... So, let's just continue shooting a little bit. If we are lucky, there we go. Disrupted. Beautiful. Now, I feel a bit more confident in taking on these guys. That was a fair little domino effect. I drove them away quite nicely. A little bit too far, actually. If they'd gone a little bit shorter, I could maybe have caught them there. So you can see now that skirmishers will often decide to retreat from a charging enemy. That's kind of, I was hoping these guys would do that as well, but they decided, no, you know what, we're going to stay and fight here, which is not ideal. I would have preferred if they'd backed out, because of course my own infantry is lagging quite far behind them, seeing as they have to cross an area of rough ground to get to the enemy. Rough ground is not good for heavy infantry formations, as they are, well, focused on the precise formations of their troops. They don't like fighting on uneven ground. Now, I could throw these in too, and I might do so as well, but these are slingers. They don't really do well against skirmishers with javelins, really. I was hoping to be able to shoot them out, but I was a little bit over-eager in moving forward, my own mistake. As you can see, the game rewards careful positioning. Now, you can see also here, I am disrupting this unit. What does that mean? What does that do? And is it important? Yes, it is very important. In fact, it's pretty much the most important thing in the entire combat system. The combat system is based... Oh, goddammit, you little shits. Just break already. It is based upon formation fighting, which means that if an enemy is able to hold their formation, they are going to be far more effective than an enemy that is going to be unable to hold their formation. So, currently, these guys are disrupted, which means that I've screwed with their formations a little bit. I haven't, broken them, I haven't really scattered them or anything, but they're certainly not in the ordered formation they would like to be in. I might just prepare a fight shot here, because I don't really want those guys to be there. Because now they're holding up my skirmishes, which means that the warriors might get to grips with them, which would be a very bad thing. There are 2 stages of this, or, well, 3 technically. Or 4, even more technically, I suppose. Oh, good, they decided to fall back. Perfect. Wonderful. Lovely little boys. Lovely. The first is ordered, which is just their basic formation. They are moving in skirmishing formation, tightly packed formations, phalanx, etc. They are ordered and are ready for combat. Then, they get disrupted. Now the formation is starting to fall apart a little bit. Maybe there's gaps opening up in the lines, or maybe they've simply become disorganized due to poor terrain. For example, you can see these guys are currently moderately disordered. Not because they've been disordered by combat, but because the terrain which they are traveling across is quite shit. I mean, this is the horriblest attack map, actually. They've got the advantage of high ground and this dreadful rough ground, but, well, I have elephants. Do you think elephants give a shit? No, not really. Elephants are pretty good. And elephants backed up by infantry, even better. But then if you keep pouring the damage into them, the unit might get fragmented. Let's see if we can maybe get an example of that here. I'd love to just... There we go. Let's just beat up and bully their skirmish cavalry. Because I'm the ones, or only the ones that's supposed to have skirmish cavalry. Let's see. That unit is still standing strong. Let's keep shooting that. Come on, fragment. Or, well, disrupt for you. There we go. Lovely. Now, I'm going to charge you. They decided to stand and fight. That's not bad for me. That's actually not bad at all. Let's see. If I could get those out of the way, I'd open up a whole variety of rear charges. Yeah, let's try that. And right into their ass I go, and fragmented and broken. And so when a unit fragments, now some serious gaps are starting to show in their formation. And if they fragment yet further, they break. At which point they will begin fleeing, Jesus Arch, from the battlefield. Now they may rally, but it's rare. Units that have been fragmented, they basically have had their formations just torn apart. Maybe their officers are dead. You know, they've gotten their asses kicked in close quarters combat. They're not necessarily overly interested in sticking around for dessert, shall we say. This is also one of the reasons why skirmishes are so incredibly important. I don't think I've played any system ever where skirmishes are as important and honestly as thematic as this. Because skirmishes are not only able to, of course, run up to the enemy and pecker them with javelins, slinger rocks, and all other kinds of horrible things. Well, I can shoot at you from there. I can't.
Valószínűleg az összes ilyet fölrobbantja az egész hajóba, azt meg robbantja.
But they are also able to actually skirmish. If they get charged by a unit, they might decide to simply just run away. In which case, you can block the enemy's ability to move very effectively. Which I should be able to demonstrate quite soon, because the enemy skirmishes are, they're not doing too hot. They could be doing better. Granted, they are horrifyingly outnumbered, so you can't really blame the poor bastards, but they are going to be failing in their duty to skirmish very soon. Ooh, that was lucky. Snake eyes on their morale test there, poor little buggers.
Fusion reactor, yes, fusion reactor.
Right.
A singularity generator.
And they'll probably be wanting to come out and play soon as well. So if I move this unit here, up right in front of this warrior unit, you might be thinking that's a terrible idea, right? The warriors will butcher them. Yeah, they will. If they can catch them. If they can't catch them, then my units will simply just run away from them. And since they can run away faster than the enemy warriors can follow them, most likely, they will be able to turn around and fire against them next turn. And they can keep doing this, and units have something called zone of control. This means that if a unit is threatening another unit, then that unit's warriors are not going to show a flank to them. For example, I'm going to do that right now. Actually, first I'm going to throw javelins at these guys because they annoy me. I'm going to move up right here, I'm going to face this unit, and I'm going to kill them with javelins. Now, I am in this unit's zone of control, and it is in mine. This unit now, it cannot turn. It cannot move away, it cannot retreat, I think, but just flee, but that's about it. It needs to attack this unit, or it will be unable to move. Which means that the skirmishers are able to do their job. Now actually, I should have moved that unit because I'm placing myself in a bit of a dirty position here. Because it is of course entirely possible that once this unit flees, the unit will continue charging forward and impact on this unit's cavalry or the slingers. Now sure, the cavalry can get out of the way, but the slingers, well, you never know. They might decide that they want to stay and fight or something equally dumb like that. I can just chase you off, I think. There we are. That opens up a path for me to move further forward and move my skirmishers up in possible contact with the enemy's front line. And that is the absolute last place you want skirmishers. This is why skirmishers are so very, very important, because if the skirmishers get into a position like this, then I can kind of guide the direction of their attack. I can force them to move in a direction I want, and I can also slow down their advance. And even better, as they are forced to charge after my units, who will simply just run away, I might break open their lines as well. And in a game where positioning is so very, very important and flanks are so very, very powerful, having units run out of position is very, very bad. That can open them up to all kinds of horrible effects. And with, you know, a horde of elephants on their flanks, well, that's even worse. Let's actually try that now. I'm going to try and entice them to head over here. Because now they have a choice between charging this unit, or this unit. And since this unit will probably charge this, they might decide to go off on the flank here. A little bit of an adventure, perhaps. Not thinking that they might run into some very large, angry beasties on the flank. Who knows? Of the rest of the skirmishers, I'm going to start moving around the enemy. Now, little elephants. Keep moving you up on the flank here. And we're going to keep moving up the infantry support as well. Because even elephants don't like getting flanked, so you should always have a reserve line. It's vitally important because let's say, for example, that one of your units beat an enemy, and the enemy decides to fall back, and your unit decides to pursue. You don't get to choose that. Your units might simply decide that, yeah, this is going well, we're going to follow the little bastards. And in that case, that might open up a hole in your line. Oh. Wow, that was quite the pursuit. That was an epic pursuit on behalf of the warriors there, which managed to catch up with my Sicilian slingers. See, this is what I mean. That was not supposed to happen. The odds of that happening were astronomical, but the Spaniards were like, no, fuck this shit. We're gonna catch something. We don't care how far we gotta go. We are going to catch something. Somehow, we're gonna get into combat, and by fucking damn it, they did. I love that sense of narrative. I hope they'd expand upon it, honestly. Let's say, for example, that, you know, after every battle, you could hand out one distinction, just a little medal, you know, it gives a little bit of extra experience to the unit, and it's then marked on the unit uniform, or in its banner, for example, so that you can go like, okay, yeah, this unit did something cool, and I rewarded it at some point. And maybe you could even have unique medals. Units that, for example, held out against 3 units for 3 turns without breaking could have like a steel wall medal, and that would be unique looking, and a unique marker on their unit, so you can be like, oh yeah, that was that crazy unit that held out for 3 turns against overwhelming enemies. Because that does happen. I was actually talking about the battle with the Greeks one time before I got completely distracted. So, as the Romans, I had my legions. The legions are very, very, very good infantry. Very good infantry. But they're extremely expensive, and they tend to get outnumbered. And in this case, they definitely were. I was fighting against the Etruscans, who had an army mostly of mercenaries after I had ambushed and murdered their main army in the mountains. It turns out that phalanxes and hoplites and such things don't necessarily perform that well in narrow mountain passages, especially not when they're getting bombarded with javelins by Roman legionnaires and their velite skirmishers. Turns out that they perform rather badly in such circumstances. And so they had responded by building a large army very quickly by mercenaries, which is kind of an annoying thing. The AI does have a nasty habit of just creating armies on occasions, which can be a little bit frustrating. Although, well, the player also has the ability to create armies via events, so you can't really complain too much, I suppose. Anywho, I was outnumbered. I think I had some 11,000 guys to some 16,000, 17,000, but I had a very nice position. I had a nice hill, a bit wider than this one, and a double hill as well, to place my troops upon. And so I placed my legionnaires all up on that hill, ready to give the enemy a nice warm welcome and try and repel them as they came in, whilst my cavalry and skirmishers went on out on the extreme flank to try and harass them, to try and drive some units away from the front line. And I'm going to be a bit careful about the deployment here, because they might decide to change after the skirmishers, and I wouldn't want them to run into my elephant's flanks whilst doing so, so I'm going to move them a little bit more carefully. And my legionnaires did excellently. They did everything that you could ask of a legionnaire unit. They stood on top of that hill, and they repelled charge after charge after charge. Even my tribal allies were able to hold their positions and see off the hoplites and the phalanxes time and time again. They did a great job. But on my left flank, where my triarii were placed because I had to extend my lines, normally I prefer to have the triarii in reserve, but in this case, there simply wasn't enough space. The enemy had deployed in a almost single line, and I needed to disencourage them a little bit from simply just surrounding me. The triarii had the same kind of height advantage as the rest of my legionnaires, a full 2 levels of elevation. But whereas my legionnaires were standing like a stone wall, seeing off repeated assaults from hordes of enemy units, the triarii broke immediately upon impact. They were thrown back on my left flank, causing me a moment of extreme panic as a unit of Thueropoi spears and a unit of phalanx infantry was threatening to simply just roll up my entire left-hand flank, to the point where I had to open up a gap in my front line and just kind of desperately toss a unit into it, which of course weakened the front line itself. Less than ideal. Speaking of less than ideal, I might have to fight across rough ground here, which is not great. These guys are fragmented, so they can't move very well. This is not great. I am screwing with my own formation with my own skirmishes, but luckily I have a nice group of reserves here that I can move up and plug the holes before they get too egregious, hopefully. Yeah. And that was really cool. Like, it was annoying because I was thinking, oh, the triarii, you know, they can hold the flank, that'll be fine. No. Absolutely no. They kept rolling terribly. They kept just getting dicked over time and time and time again, and they get disrupted. They eventually started fragmenting, and only a miracle saved me in that one of the three triarii decided, fuck this shit, we're not going to be shit like our brethren, we are going to stand. And so despite losing combat after combat because they were outnumbered, they were getting attacked from 2 different directions, they simply refused to get fucked over. They kept their formation, they got disrupted once, then immediately rallied, and they bought me the 2 turns necessary to move up my other units and shore up that flank. It's so cool. I love how the game gives you that sort of a narrative. Oh hey, warriors. You're right in front of an elephant. You know, that is probably the worst place you can actually be, right in front of an elephant. There are a few places quite so shitty. You guys are in a bit of a... Oh, yeah, you're not in a great position, are you? You're in the zone of control here. Shit. Well, let's hope you can run away, otherwise your lives are about to get rather difficult. Speaking of, let's move you over here so you don't get in the way. That sounds very useful.
Yeah,
you guys haven't rallied yet. That annoys me slightly. I was really hoping you would, because there isn't really that much to threaten you here. Now, honk honk. Oh, they didn't fragment immediately upon impact. Very disappointing. There we go. There you are. Yep. Fucking elephants. Elephants are expensive beasties and fragile as well. You can see the strength here, strength 19. So this is about 475 Libya Phoenician infantry. This is just 20 elephants. As you can imagine, if they get under fire by, for example, javelins or skirmish cavalry, because they're not super duper fast, they can potentially hunt down skirmishers, although you shouldn't count on it. But skirmish cavalry, yeah, they're not catching skirmish cavalry. They're really not catching skirmish cavalry. And so if they're up against Numidian cavalry, skirmish cavalry with javelins, for example, they're going to have a very bad day. A very bad day. Because those javelins are going to do a lot of damage to them, and they're going to be unable to catch them. Right, my skirmishers are able to retreat through my front line. Oh yeah, warriors. No, these are sacred bands. And they're not just sacred bands either. These fuckers are veterans. They've seen their share of shit. You're not getting through there anytime soon, Sonny Jim. I would also love that the units to have like user-generated names or even custom names so you can recognize them again, you know? The Stone Wall, the Defenders, based upon the various cool medals they get. Honestly, this combat system is really cool in just its basic form right now, but they really should concentrate on the narrative ability of the combat system and all of the cool little stories that it creates. I'd have preferred if you'd ended up in a slightly different position there, little elephant, because then I could maybe move you right down the enemy's flank. As it is now, I have to end up just turning you. That fat little bastard. Yeah, see, now you get right... damn it. That was a great. I could have just read them down the flank there. Now I can't do that. Well, on the other hand... Well, hopefully I won't get... Oh, wow, they won, huh? That's surprising. These are shock infantry, which means they have very good impact. Even when they are the ones being charged, they will throw their javelins regardless, and that can do a lot of damage, meaning that shock infantry can be very, very dangerous, even to veteran units like phalanxes and stuff. They can pose a real threat. They fucking held out against the elephant. That's impressive and annoying. As the unit's fragments additionally and disperses, its combat ability will also drop sharply, since it will be unable to stay in effective formation, of course. Now, since you guys seem to be so interested in getting acquainted with the Sacred Band, I figured I'd let you, but, you know, just to be safe, I think we'll toss some rocks at you first. Zone of control. Yeah, I'm pretty confident they'll be able to win. There you see the pushback, so... Of course, pushing back enemy infantry can be very advantageous, because now I've opened up another area in my front line that I can move through and attack through. But if I didn't have those reserves there, well, that could allow the enemy to use that hole as well. So you always need to have reserves. You gotta have reserves to cover up your unintentional holes. Very important lesson, boys and girls. Off you fuck. Oh, they didn't fragment. Very impressive, very impressive. By the way, I think I've been calling these guys Spaniards for some reason. I don't know. They use the Spanish irregular vital model instead of the aren't these warriors? I thought these would be using the... Yeah, they are warriors, but they're not using the Desert Warrior model in Field of Glory. I just noticed that for some mystical fucking reason. Lost 9%, lost 4%. Yeah, I feel we can risk this. Ow! Well, apparently fucking not. Right, once again, demonstrating the vital nature of the reserves, being able to plug up the unintentional gaps, because that could have opened up an opening to more like them move in and attack my Libya Phoenician infantry there. And hell, if they'd gotten disrupted, oh god, that would have been... that could have been kind of bad. As you can see, this combat is actually quite dynamic, in that the front line will move, and often unintentionally so, which can make it rather difficult to actually make sure that your units are doing what you want them to do, when you want them to. And then, of course, the enemy gets involved and they charge into that unit. But the Libya Phoenicians stand strong as shit and repel them. Beautiful. Yeah, I don't think they stand much of a chance here. They never really did with this kind of a skirmish superiority that I have. I mean, I just crushed their skirmishes, and now I can attack them in the rear whenever I want to. Plus, they're just basic warriors. They can't really deal with the Sacred Band at all. The Sacred Band are expensive little ships, both in terms of money, manpower, and equipment. But good God, they do pay for themselves.
Civilian battle.
Finally, that skirmish unit held out a surprisingly long period of time. Yeah, their front line is just crumbling right now. Hey, they rallied. Yep. And there we go. These poor bastards never stood all that much of a chance. Oh, God. They even outnumbered them horribly. Poor, poor, poor little boys. And now I can take this result and export it back into empires. So, hopefully this has given you a little bit of an interesting idea of the combat system. Again, if this was incorporated directly into Field of Glory Empire, oh God, it would be so great, and I really hope they do that in the future. Now, I think maybe one of the reasons they didn't is because this is created by a different studio than the studio who created the other one, so if those two could have a little cooperation properly, that would be really cool, and if they could do a grand campaign in Pike and Shot with this system, oh, I would be a happy little boy. Anywho, if you think this system has been interesting, and you might also find the Field of Glory Empires video interesting, then this should be on sale right now, Steam Summer Sale, so do consider giving it a look. Until next time, I'm Xenonauts, thank you all very much for watching, and I hope to see you all again soon. Until then, have a good day.
Dreadnoughtot régen viszont szedtem. Operátor nem volt fenn. Ja. A Dread meg az Alien Fortress hiányzik csak. Kuka, mindenki más. Ezen vagyok most. Meg robotok vannak. Hát ha tudtam volna, hogy ennyire fontos összegyűjteni ezeket, úgy csinálok valami táblázatot, amin bepipálom őket. Ne kell így keresgélni. Én jöttem be ide?
Greetings and salutations, friends, and welcome to Field of Glory Empires. A rather odd little title in many, many ways. An upcoming grand strategy game set in the ancient times, with all the usual suspects like Rome, Carthage, Iberia, the various successor states of Alexander the Great, and Judea. Because why not? Now, due to the setting and, well, the times we are in, this will inevitably be compared with Imperator Rome, and, well, it's not an unfair comparison, really. The two are trying to do kind of the same thing by representing this era in time, very much the same kind of window as well, and they do it very differently. Which one does it better or worse? Well, that's kind of what we're going to be talking about today, so before that, though, I need to mention one thing. Currently, there is another game that is on sale for 50% off, I believe, during the summer sales until the 9th of next month, July, which is Field of Glory 2. Not Empires, not Field of Glory Empires, just Field of Glory 2. It is a strategy game, turn-based tactical war game with a map that, if you own, you can take the battles played in this game when you move an army into enemy territory, export that over to that game, and then play them out tactically in Field of Glory 2, and then export the Northfront battle over into Field of Glory Empires here, and continue playing from that point, which I will be demonstrating in a separate video from this. If I've remembered, then there should be a link in the description, just to keep the two separate, because technically speaking they are two separate games, which is a bit unfortunate, because frankly, if they were the same game, this would be amazing. This would be miles better than Imperator, just on the combat system alone, but since it isn't, well, you essentially have to buy two games to get one, which is a little unfortunate, and the export process is a wee bit on the laborious side as well, though not egregiously so. It usually takes me longer to load up a battle in 3 kingdoms than it does transferring over the files, etc., so it's not too bad. Anywho, let's talk first about Field of Glory Empires before we get into the battle system, shall we? Currently, I am playing here as Carthage. This is one of my earliest campaigns, so my stuff is far from optimized, but it is good enough for an example. You, of course, have your various cities, the regions, and also a provincial system, where you can see entire provinces here. Here, when you get a province, it's very useful, because it allows you to share the resources in that province. Infrastructure, food, money, culture, manpower, metal, equipment. Now, metal, which you can see up here, manpower, men, and gold are, of course, your overall resources, whilst the stuff used in the province is infrastructure, used to build structures and to maintain them, food, used to feed your populace and to grow the populace, and culture, which affects a third system, and equipment. You need to store up equipment to buy units, with units costing both manpower, metal, and equipment, although some cost only 1 or 2 out of 3. This is a system I really like, that I wish was expanded upon more. The equipment system is such a cool idea. Like, how if you could customize the units, for example? Instead of having Sacred Band be heavy spear infantry, maybe I can make them into heavy sword infantry. Or maybe I don't have the metal, because I am currently starving of metal a little bit, to make heavy infantry. Maybe I could give them medium armor instead, for example. Now, since you don't want to divert too much from history, there should probably be like a military tradition value or something, which you have to spend some points to customize the units, but nonetheless, could be really cool. And also the ability to trade equipment, and maybe even specialize. Like, for example, over in Macedonia, there are really, really great pike makers, whilst in Iberia and in Rome, you've got great short swords and stuff like that. And of course, then you want to be trading it because it'll earn you money, influence, maybe, maybe you can trade it for metal, for example, all kinds of stuff. But of course, if you give it to your enemy, then those beautiful weapons of yours will very quickly be turned back on you, making it a less than ideal thing to do. But, there's nothing like that yet, but God, wouldn't it be cool? Not to mention revolts too. Currently your revolts are the same old, boring percentage chance to revolt each turn when they're disloyal, but what if the rebels would actually have to gather equipment before revolting, instead of just popping up in a stack like, hi, we've spawned here? They'd have to actually, hit warehouses, steal equipment, siphon it off from the garrison. Ugh. So many cool possibilities on that, but, just ideas. There is the building system, which is slightly randomized. So each turn, or not each turn, but each time you refresh it, you get a set of building options which you can construct in a province. If you don't like any of them, you can refresh the list by building shuffle, which costs infrastructure. So having a lot of infrastructure is good because you can both build buildings quickly and also shuffle them into what you want. There are agricultural buildings, sanitation buildings, infrastructure buildings, military buildings, financial buildings, and cultural buildings. They also have their own effects, of course, and they also work off one another. So it's not good to just build willy-nilly because, of course, you have a limit on how many things you can build, but the effects. So here we have a sawmill. The sawmill produces lumber. Why is that important? Well, that is important because I also have a wheel maker here, which gains a bonus of 5 infrastructure from lumber. Awesome. These two buildings are working off one another. You can also have, for example, I have copper, which is a natural resource, so I can get some more metal. You also have, of course, financial buildings working off each other, like the caravanserie here, for example. Since I have horses and cattle, I gain a bonus of 7 money twice, meaning that the caravanserie earns me a whole bunch of money in addition to its commerce bonus. And then, of course, there's the trade system as well. There are natural resources, like, for example, there's copper up here, and I think there's tin or lead here. But most of the resources you can get from buildings. Cattle, for example, comes from a ranch. Horses come from a stud farm. Salt come from mines in the mountains or in salt marsh areas in marshy terrain. Marble comes from the mountains as well. You can also make pitch, you can make tar, hemp, all manners of resources in these areas. And they, too, play off one another. Say, for example, that I didn't have horses or cattle in this area right here. Well, if I have it nearby, I can still get the bonus. And in some cases, you flat out need certain things to operate the building at all. So here, we can see the trade details. Currently, I am shipping out some sails all the way here to Massalia. I am manufacturing sails, that's earning me 20 money. I am selling that to Massalia and Macedonia. I've got some cattle, some horses, some pottery, some stone, and I'm currently importing hemp and flax. I'm importing this from Carthage and this from Cyrene, as you can see it's tracing around on the map here. Where you import what from comes from your trade acumen, commerce, and of course your trade range. The better you are at trade acumen and commerce in general, the better you are at getting good deals, and exporting the right resources to the right areas and so on. The trade system is really cool like this, because you can affect it actively. It's not just about going somewhere and capturing a resource, it's about producing the correct resources, knowing what your neighbors might want, what they might be willing to pay for, and what you need internally in your own empire, because of course there is a limit to how many things you can build in a single province. And so a province might not be self-sufficient with all of the things it needs. But as long as you can build other stuff in other places, you will be able to run a better economy with it. Really cool trade system. It's very good. I would perhaps like to see a little bit more in the way of economic warfare with this, like being able to deny trading with certain factions, for example. Because currently, the diplomacy is unfortunately rather sparse. You have war, alliance, cooperation, client state, make peace, declare war, offer a gift, insult emissary. So, that's it. Somewhat sparse. And it's RNG chance. So currently you see I have a final cooperation chance of 0, which means they'll never accept that. See if we can find somebody a little bit more willing to deal. How about you? No? Doesn't look like it. How about you? Cooperation? No? Anybody? Does anybody want to be my friend? Apparently not. Apparently not indeed. Well, fuck my lonely ass, I suppose. But assuming these guys didn't have these negatives, and let's say base accept chance 12%. In that case, I can just spam cooperation, and eventually the RNG gods will decree that they will accept, which is not a system I'm super fond of, because it also means that if you're at war, you can just spam peace, and sooner or later, they will accept, which is less than ideal. Some more stuff there, especially considering the very interesting advanced trading system, would be really cool. What if I refuse to sell sails to Massalia? Well, they will now get an extra expenditure, because if you don't have access to the resource via trade, you are going to have to pay a premium to have it bought at an extreme range, for example. So if you don't have the resource, you can see... trading the resource, this costs me 4. But if I didn't have it, then it would probably cost me 8 or more gold. And that can be a fairly hefty income. And since some of the buildings are required to build bigger ships or better units, sometimes you don't have a choice. And with the RNG building system, you might occasionally have to improvise a bit. So a little bit of trade warfare, that could be really, really interesting. You do have a rudimentary population system ethnicity, where you can change that via certain factors and also long-term existence, basically. And it is also influenced by slavery. So you can see I have quite a few desert slaves, which obviously inflict the ethnicity of the province. This also means that having large groups of slaves in a province is not necessarily good for stability, though you can increase stability by assigning people to culture. You can see here, you can move the various populations around. One derpy thing is, I can't, for example, just select this guy and move him. Instead, it selects all of the guy above him. So if I wanted to move just this slave guy, I'd have to basically do something like this, move them around, until I can finally manage to separate the slave there, and then I can move him. That's needlessly derpy. There should just be possible to just click him, and that would be it. That would be lovely. You've also, of course, got backups, so infrastructure. You can store up infrastructure, food, and culture. Culture is particularly important because it leads to a double system. In this case, you gain extra legacy points by having a lot of culture stored up. Legacy is basically your victory points, and it will determine who wins the game in the end. We'll get to that in a second, but first we'll finish up with the building system. The building system is not entirely RNG, there are also levels. You can see here, this is a level 1 building, this is a level 2 building, this is a level... do I have a level 3 building? Probably not, but I'm building one right there. To get a level 3 building in the RNG cube, you must have 6 other buildings of that type. So 6 yellow buildings will unlock tier 3 yellow. Or if you want the level 2, you need 3 other buildings of that type. So 3 military buildings will unlock military level 2 once you start with them. In this case, I have both walls and barracks from the beginning. This means that some specialization is encouraged, but you generally have enough slots so that you can expand a little bit out. And considering you, of course, continuously need to have food and culture as well, that is quite necessary, because culture is a big deal through this system, the Progress and Decadency system. This is meant to simulate the rise and fall of empires, but if you become too decadent, you will start building up aging tokens, which might decrease the level of your civilization. This is very bad. In fact, if you go to civilization level 1 and you keep aging, your nation might simply just explode, and it'll die. It'll go bye-bye. That'll be a game over. And even just having it go down can cause all sorts of problems, all sorts of penalties, public unrest, etc. Not nice in the slightest. For example, let's see, I do have a nation trait here. Overview, maybe? Well, there we go, modifiers, there we are. Glorious nation. This is due to me currently being a glorious nation. Loyalty bonus 15, legacy gain boost 35, decadence gain further increased by 35, leader force build bonus 3, reduction 35 to the next weird gain level up, conversion bonus plus 10 of current rank. Really pretty goddamn powerful. If I get to the next level, if I manage to fill this again, because this is the... Okay, let's explain that. This system works on these tokens building up. You can start in civilization level 1, where for example you are a tribe, and once you have built up 5 tokens the first time, you will go up to the second step in the first level of civilization. And once you build them up again, you will become glorious. In this case, I believe I have a glorious republic. If I manage to fill this up again, I will then move on to civilization level 3, where there will be 3 further such levels. And if I manage to fill all 3 levels once again, I will then enter into a golden age with yet further bonuses, really big ones as well. This is important because of decadence. Decadence builds up over time. As you can see, my nation size is giving me 600 decadence, structure 35. But status aged penalty, that's the huge one. Since my nation has been staying in civilization level 2 for quite a while now, I am sitting on 670 penalty, which is a lot. It's more than my entire nation size, and Carthage right now is a pretty large nation, stretching all the way from Spain here through a lot of Africa. So it's huge. I really want to get to the next level, but I'm struggling a bit at the moment. See, I like the idea of this system, but I don't like the execution. Basically, the best way you have of affecting this is by just pumping out culture, by building culture buildings and assigning people to those buildings. And the ratio between your culture, average, and decadency will then give you a certain ranking. We'll go to the ledger here, we'll have a look at that. There we are. So currently I am number 43 out of all of these nations. I am in the middle tier, which means I do not age, nor do I progress, which is, better than nothing. But if I were to go up to the higher tier, I would gain progress tokens, or a percentage chance of gaining them. If I go to the lower tiers, I will gain a percentage chance of gaining an aging token. You can gain these tokens by capturing objectives marked on the map here, which are created either as war objectives or as events given out to you by your faction leader. This currently is the Barkin family. These leaders will be changed out on occasion, or you can keep them for lengthy periods of time if you keep fulfilling objectives. That seems to give them extra support in the Senate. You can of course also be a monarchy and have a bit more of a permanent one, obviously. But my problem with this... There. Oh, retard. Why isn't the ledger going up? Maybe you shouldn't be clicking diplomacy arch, maybe. The problem I have with the system is, I feel like I don't necessarily have all that much effect on this system. All I can really do is just spam out culture and hope that my rating rises, whereas all of the other nations are of course doing the same thing. And so I find myself rising on the rankings not because I am doing anything, but because other people are falling on the rankings. Or I find myself falling because other peoples are falling on the rankings. As you can see, last turn I went up +3, whilst these poor bastards went down 19. I mean, I am gaining slots not because of what I am doing, but because what others are failing to do. And it makes the system feel like I am fighting against a stream, really. Like, I don't have enough ways to affect it, and so it feels kind of arbitrary and a little unfair as well, especially during the ranking, because I'm okay, well, now I'm gonna have to fight with Rome directly. I'm gonna have to compete with all of the other nations on the map for my progress as a civilization. I mean, I get what they're trying to do, because they want you to be able to lose this depending upon the, overall situation of the map, but nevertheless, there needs to be more ways to affect this and control it effectively. That'd be very nice. The game also doesn't have much of a character system at all. You can appoint generals and you have, of course, your ruler, but that's about it. There's not a whole lot of internal policy decisions or politics, though there are decisions that you can make. Do, for example, boost your navy by seizing commerce ships, by determining your take upon justice, for example, which is one way you can affect it. I'm just saying you can't affect that much, but there are decisions that can affect it, and you can build certain buildings as well, which tend to be very, very expensive, but decrease decadency. And there are other buildings that give positive effects, but increase decadency, for example. So, you know, there's a couple ways, but again, seeing as that system is built on decisions being RNG when you get them, and the buildings also being RNG when you get them, and currently there's no tech tree for the buildings, which there really needs to be. I need to be able to see, okay, theater, what can this possibly evolve into, if anything, right here? That'd be really nice. A little bit more to do with that would be great. Now, let's have a little bit of a look at the combat system that comes standard with the game. Not the Field of Glory one, that I'll do in a separate video, but the combat system that comes in this. Because it's not bad. It's not bad at all. We have some cooperative people here, which will give us a demonstration. These guys being my allies, the little green ones here. Oh, before we get into that, actually, the reasons for why combat happens. The AI is rather aggressive, and you can end up in a lot of annoying wars, which can be really annoying since, of course, your decadency increases based upon your nation's size. I eventually was forced to conquer this area here, which I really didn't want to, because most of this land is fucking worthless. There's nothing here, there's few people, there's dick all resources, useless empty land, but because the desert tribes refused to leave me bloody alone, I had to take them over, and eat an absolute ass ton of decadency in doing so, which is a bit annoying as well, because, okay, well, you're kind of forcing me to fight a war here. I can't just ignore them entirely forever and ever, so I'm going to have to deal with them eventually, and therefore be forced to eat decadence, which is somewhat annoying. So, you can, of course, just view the report or skip the battle and move on, but this is the current combat system. View battle. So we go in here, and we see Garamantes versus Nasamunis. It will, if I do continuous play, let this play out, but I'll use it like this to demonstrate. First, you have a skirmish phase, where the various skirmishers in your army will engage in or with one another and with the enemy at large, attempting to exhaust them, representing skirmishing units' abilities to move up and harass enemy units, make them chase them, whittle down their numbers, etc. In this case, this unit of skirmishers have been heavily affected, as this unit of warriors has been affected a little bit. Now we move into the duel phase, where the units will be fighting each other directly. We start out with warriors versus warriors. So these guys have a combat rating of 3, that being their basic stat. They get a +2 for being fighting in deserts, being desert men, giving them a total rating of 5, that being the dice roll here. Whilst the warriors have a combat rating of 3 and 1 desert man, total rating of 4, so it's there. Then you have their efficiency, which are these dots, and their health, these dots. This is a measure of how many hits they can take, how many hits they can dole out, etc. And then you have various other things, like they're fresh, they're regular, which gives them a 3 minimum roll on the bonus here. And these are fresh and recruits, and they have also 2 minimum rolls. You'll also note that they have more re-rolls here. This is due to a variety of factors, like their recruitments, their ratings, their readiness, their generals, etc. So, let's see what happens. There was a slaughter for those warriors. You can see here a 5, a 7, and a 9. So it takes the highest number, combines it with the first for 13. This is a dice-based combat system, but at least it throws several dice. There are a minimum, there is a maximum, and things that you have control over, the combat rating, the terrain in which they fight, how many skirmishes are in your army to exhaust the enemy, make this system a hell of a lot better than the Europa system, in my opinion. There is also the battle map itself. If you outflank an enemy, maybe we'll get an example here. There we go. So this unit will now move up, and since the enemy doesn't have enough units, they can now be flanked. doing yet further damage to their stats and wiping them out. Now you can see these guys are exhausted, giving them a minus of 2, which completely cancels out their Desertman bonus, which means that these guys should have a pretty hefty advantage here, especially as they also have no shields, as you can see. Well, they rolled pretty well, and they're also skirmishers, which means that they can attempt to cancel out some of the damage that is done to them. This is the thing I really like, because it makes skirmishers very valuable and very powerful. Even if your skirmishers go up against heavy infantry, yeah, they're probably going to be at a disadvantage, but assuming they can avoid the enemy correctly, they can toy with him, and hopefully also exhaust him in the skirmishing phase, it's far from impossible that they can actually win. This is what makes, for example, skirmish cavalry able to stand up to both legions. And of course, you also have the terrain. You can see the yellow routes here. This is the potential size of the battlefield in total. If this was hills, it would be far smaller, giving a much smaller frontage. A glorious victory for my allies. This combat system is pretty good. I like it. It rewards your army composition. It forces you to test skirmishes. You don't fight with purely heavy infantry. That is going to dick you over quite viciously. Let's have... Oh, we get another example here. Lovely. Spaniards fighting one another. Oh, I think these are both my allies fighting too, which is less than ideal for me. So here we have a little bit more in the way of skirmishes. So these guys are looking less than good. They're going to take a fair bit of damage. You can see that the warriors and the militias also, if they have spears, they will use them. The Roman legionnaires can use their javelins, for example, their pila. Right. Well, they've got a good general on their side, making this a relatively fair one, but due to the better general, they will get some more rolls. They get a minimum roll of 3. And another wipeout. They might be able to pull this off, assuming the skirmishers don't murder them in the flank attack. Very well. Maybe they're not as doomed as it first look. These are just slingers, so... Oh, well, those skirmishers don't look great. Yeah, that might have tipped it. Oh, no, it was a draw. Lucky for them. It's far from perfect. There's still more RNG than I would like to see. Oh, here we see a wonderful example of the hills, so we can just have this in display. But it's certainly a considerable step up from the Europa Universalis system. There's absolutely no doubt about that, and seeing as that system has basically been in play for a decade plus now, it was time for some innovation on that front. I would like to see maybe a bit more in the way of affecting this, like being able to determine which units are in the front line, which units are in the rear line, which units will be the primary skirmishing force, and so on and so on. That would be quite nice, but all in all, it's still a damn nice system. And hey, this will be a lovely little example battle to show up for the Field of Glory version as well. So, all in all, some conclusions here. But when compared to Imperator, both games have about the same kind of space diplomacy system, so I wouldn't say there's much of a winner or a loser there. The Decadent system is really cool. I like it, it just needs to be fleshed out a little bit more, so point to Glory there. The combat system, much better, and if you have Field of Glory 2, astronomically much better. The cities too, I like these better. The trade, I definitely like better. This trade system is really cool. And it also have more stuff, like equipment, for example. You need to have horses to get better cavalry and so on. There's a lot of really cool systems. I'm not super fond of the manpower being a static resource, so you can just kind of keep building up manpower. I kind of like the dynamic one from Imperator and EU more. I do like the addition of metal, however, that's pretty cool. So, just overall, I would say that if you want one out of the two, I would still give a slight recommendation to Empire. I really would. Now, bearing in mind, this game is out on the 11th of next month, but the sale on Field of Glory 2, I think, is only until the 9th. I might do a second video on the full released version. This, of course, a preview provided to me by the developers, if enough change to warrant it. But so far, this is a really, really cool product, and it feels almost like a proof of concept, as if the developers are like, okay, well, what if we combine this pretty cool, pretty in-depth 4X system with the really awesome tactical combat of Field of Glory? Wouldn't we then have a really cool product? And yeah, they would. A really cool product. I just wish they were all baked into one. If they were, I would consider this an astronomically superior product to Imperator Rogue. The graphics is one other thing. Imperator definitely beats it on graphic, because these graphics are old. I mean, they're serviceable, but God Emperor knows they could certainly be a wee bit better. That is for sure. So, all in all, very solid. Very solid indeed. And with this possibly being the precursor to maybe a bit more of a series, or hopefully a title with Field of Glory 2 combat baked into it, I see quite a lot of promise for this. I very much so do. So if you are interested, do go and check it out over on Steam. The price point for this has not been announced yet, as far as I'm aware, but considering there's a sale of Field of Glory 2, I would definitely consider picking that up. Now, if you want to see the Field of Glory 2 combat, which I really do love, by the way, it's really interesting and rather unique as well, then I recommend you head over to that video, as I'll be using this battle as a nice little example to demonstrate the various mechanics. Until then, I've been Arch. Thank you all very much for watching, and I hope to see you all again very soon. Have a good day. Right, the Commissar is just getting exasperated at this point. See, is Roll20 roll loaded again? It has. How fucking lovely. So, we
might be about to get Saigon back.
There, that's out the window.
Oh, while this is going on, this might be Uzulu and my opportunity to look in and see there's only 2 left inside the building, right?
You can only see one guy, actually, so your view right now is just this. There's one tank crewman just sitting by the table.
Alright. Huh. And I guess
one of us can get in reasonably quietly.
This is open, right? It's not a wall?
Yes, in fact, you can see that area. This.
No, like a closet storeroom.
Are we looking in at closed windows or open windows?
They're closed, but are they locked?
Well, I suppose one of us could try them, though the guy's right near us, so he might hear it.
Well, you can try a entry through this window, which would probably be stealth and dexterity, probably, just straight up.
I can give it an attempt. I'm gonna take
Stealth and dexterity, what do I have on those? A grand total of nothing and... Where's dexterity?
stealth is
Actually,
Let's see.
oh, there it is. Yeah, I have nothing on stealth and 1 on dexterity.
Rags has great dexterity. What's your stealth?
Yeah, my dexterity is 3. I have no stealth though.
He's unaware, so that would make it easier, but he would probably require, I'd say, probably 3 degrees of success to do so, like, properly well, without him noticing it all.
I don't know. And there's no back door? Is there a back door?
No.
Well,
Can you open the window from the outside?
yeah, is it even locked at all?
It is not.
All right.
Maybe get him to come to the window, and then he'll just hold up the gun and see if he freezes, and then slowly open the window. He'll know we're opening it, but he can't do anything.
Well, if what you'd like to do, if we open the window and we just go inside, we could just do the same thing. And but we have one guy who's unaccounted for, I believe.
The rifleman went outside.
All right, so there's 4 outside and
There's 5 in total.
oh, okay.
I thought there were 6 in total.
I thought there were 6.
Yeah, I heard 6 earlier, but it looks like there's 5.
Are you like Marvel? Did you forget a scroll?
I bet no one gets that one.
Yeah, well, I need so.
Arch, was there 6 or? So
Yeah.
one of them.
I heard
so
6.
one of them. I think one of them manages to slip away somewhere and is now like looking for something or someone. So you guys might want to.
Yeah, we have an
Pay
unaccounted
attention.
for communist.
Is
Yeah.
the commissar
The
putting...
worst kind of communist.
Is he ignoring me?
We're still dealing with what these guys are doing.
Here's Lou. What do you think?
I think, so either we get him to come to the window or we try the window now. Even if we try the window and fail, we can still point the gun at him, but he's less likely to respond with serenity if we point the gun at him from a distance after he's just heard a strange noise. So we distract him to the window, and then when we point the gun at him through the window, he probably will stop because there's a gun in his face, even though there's glass. And then we slowly open the window fairly quietly. If he alarms, then, I mean, we're kind of fucked then, but he'll get shot, so he probably won't.
So,
I imagine he's not suicidal yet.
what you want to do is basically point the weapon at him, and then try to open the window so that if he hears something and goes, then you'll have him covered and you'll be like, sure, something
Yeah,
like
well,
that.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
that's not a bad idea, but that's not what I mean at all.
Okay.
What I mean is, we create a noise outside so that he comes to the window, and then when he's right up close to us, we suddenly pop up and point the guns at him. He probably will freeze in that moment, and then we can open the window while we've got him covered.
And I have an awareness of 4, so I'll know when he's there. Unless I failed 7 dice rolls again.
I have a performance of 3, so I can perform something outside that will cause him to come to the window.
That's a good idea.
Just start singing the anthem, the Nazi anthem.
All right.
Come on, boy.
Maybe.
You have me at a disadvantage, V. I don't know if I heard.
I mean, if we're lucky, he might even open the window.
Maybe, to look outside. That's very true.
I'm
Well,
wondering
shall
what
we give
exactly
it a
I could
go?
do. Yeah, what exactly should I perform then? Nazi anthem, communist anthem, or Soviet anthem? Maybe an animal sound?
Just tap the window, man.
Tapping on the window is really good to require a roll. So
It's a bit
you're gonna
obvious,
do that then, that's the plan.
I think so.
Would calling out like
Can we see if I can bullshit the commissar first?
Hold
If
on.
I get the commissar as well, then all of them.
Just
will
before you
fall.
do it, I've decided what I'll do. My character has Russian, academic, obviously he has multiple languages, so, and I have performance, so what I do is I'm going to say something in Russian, like, comrade, have a look at this. But if you want to do your thing before we actually do that, that's fine, but that is what we're going to do, I think.
Yeah, because if I get the commissar, it's best if the other guys don't know you're there.
sure.
All right,
And,
go
and
ahead.
and if things go bad, we can do our plan. So yeah, let's give it a shot. We're at the ready.
Okay. Right. The commissar, when he steps out and sees the little German climbing on the tank and the other officers shouting at them. Let's see. Oh god.
Was ist das deutsches Kinder in der Panzer?
Okay, so he goes up, he looks just... Jeva tete. Za ja Jaswunski kwartiero. So, he's basically saying like, fuck this. I'm calling headquarters, this is getting retarded.
That's not something we want to happen.
That's bad.
So, he turns on a dime, basically, and heads back inside.
He's not even going to address me.
No, he doesn't know what the fuck's going on. He's getting confused, and he knows something is wrong, but he doesn't know fucking what. And so he wishes to pass the responsibility for any decision he has to make onto somebody else.
He doesn't even try to apprehend the little girl.
No, like, he's under a strict order, like all other Russians, to not do anything to provoke the Germans. So, again, he wants to pass the buck right now.
Well, seeing as he doesn't do anything, I'll just walk up to him.
Okay, yeah, you can go up to the outside of it.
To the commissar.
He's already inside.
And the
I knock
radio.
at the door.
He's unlikely to open it. He is heading for his room.
Is his room enclosed so that we could do our operation without him noticing once he gets there?
Most rooms are closed.
There are no windows in it. It's the room right down there. This is a room here.
Oh, we can't see what you're pointing at.
Shit. Oh, God. Switching
The bit
between
in the
these
top
screens
right of
is
the
getting
building.
annoying. Right. He's in. This is his room down there.
Looks like a storage room. Or is it beyond the storage room?
It's beyond the storage room.
Okay, fair enough. And it's enclosed. So once he gets there, I guess we can do our little operation.
Yes. But if there's a radio in there.
Yeah, we need to stop him before that happens.
Yeah, can I speak with my spy?
Sure.
Better make it quick.
Yeah, I give him a knife and I tell him kill the commissar.
Ja, bara att tűzbe. Stricken.
Okay, now you push the officer a bit too fucking far. He's already
No, not the
doubting.
officer. No, not the officer.
No,
the
yeah, but
officer.
you just told him to kill the commissar right in front of him.
Arch, I wanted to talk with the one who thinks he's a Nazi spy in private.
No, you didn't say that, V. You said, "Can I talk with my soldier?" Yes. I give him a knife and tell him to kill the commissar.
Okay, well, I want to do it discreetly.
No, V. No, I am going to
standing in
punish
front
you
of
when
them.
you do something dumb like this from now on. Because that way
Yeah,
you'll
you
think.
did kind of run into it.
Okay, then I try to dominate.
Pausing him.
Okay, the officer draws his pistol, like, what the fuck? And the guy with the rifle, too, is like, no. What? Excuse me?
Okay, then I try to dominate the officer again.
Oh yeah, Dominic, that'll solve every problem.
It's gonna be a long road.
well,
kinda
well, I
did.
guess with a V roll it fucking will.
Oh, you still gotta do your rouse check.
I did.
No, you didn't.
I thought it's all included.
No, it isn't.
Success anyway, so.
But you've already dominated him. You can't re-dominate him. He is already dominated. It's just that this is the part of rationalize where he's starting to question himself.
No, I can basically put another idea in his head.
I don't think so. I don't think this stacks infinitely.
Now spin around. Now jump.
To be fair, with that roll, maybe it does.
If not, I'll just use cloud memory on him and make him forget the fact that I asked the guardsman to kill the commissar.
There's two of them.
Speaking of, so let me check here. So this is Masquerade Threat Low.
Oh god. What's
Oh, okay.
have
Like,
you broken the
you're
masquerade?
now, you gave him that, and now you're trying to dominate him again, which is just like, you know, forget or dominate something. The rifleman is right fucking there.
Yeah, but he thinks he's a Nazi spy.
No, they're two riflemen. And he's getting real fucking jumpy.
Arch, it's really difficult to follow if you have me in the house. I don't know what's going on outside.
Oh, God. Why do you make me do this shit?
Oh, I see. Now it makes sense.
Well, to be fair, you have already seen that rifleman, and I've stated on several occasions that he did come out with him, so I'm still blaming you.
There were 4 people out there.
Okay, so just to describe the situation, the officer is not. This is getting a bit too fucking crazy. If he was still non-questioning, then sure, but he is. And the other rifleman is really starting to freak the fuck out, like, what even the hell is going on?
Considering that we're supposed to be badass Nazi vampire elite crack unit, this is a fucking clown show.
Well, I mean, it's gone relatively well up until this point, but he is pushing his luck a bit.
Well, no, because I just wanted to talk with my private, and apparently, I talk with my guy, and you're like, yes, and I tell you what he wants, like, oh, there's other 3 guys around you, and they heard you.
But yeah, you knew they were there. I've shown you this screen.
Fine. I obviously wanted to talk with him in private, but if you
obviously, no V, I will punish you when you say random.
I will use forgetful mind on the officer to forget what I just said.
It's just a reset button. Fuck it.
Okay. Do another
now
round
you
check.
have to do 2 resets on the other rifleman.
It's gonna be the best campaign. It's gonna be a long World War.
Right. Okay. Cloud memory, charisma plus dominate.
We may not end the war, but we'll hell of a start it.
It was at that point Arch wondered.
Oh, you failed the rouse.
That means you just get 1 hunger point.
Yep, you get 1 point of hunger.
You can still do the
Right, oh, never mind, I see it. Okay.
Yep.
you can still do the ability, but you just get a hunger point now.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Then roll the ability. Charisma plus dominate. Okay. Alright, 2 degrees of success. He does get a save on this. Let's see. He fails. Okay, so you just look him in the eyes and goes, forget, and the officer just drops his pistol, like, what the fuck am I doing? The rifleman is now shouting in Russian, like, what the fuck, what the fuck, what the fuck?
Well, it's his turn then. Let's see.
Yeah, you turn towards him, he raises his Mosin. Would you like to do something?
Yeah, I raise my hand and I look towards the officer, you know, like, hey, is this supposed to shoot a German?
He's too scared to really give a shit right now.
No,
You made us God in this man. I don't think authority is going to change that.
Yeah, I raise my hand as a surrendering, you know, like.
I'm gonna. So, all right. What's gonna happen now is
Just dominate him, V.
Ooh,
you guys
I'll DM the next
should
campaign
have
to
like a plan for what's gonna happen now, because I'm going to do a dice roll for this guy. He's scared out of his fucking wits. A creepy dude is making his buddies act all fucking strange. He just handed a knife to one of his friends. Go kill the commissar. He is an inch away from pulling the trigger, point blank on me.
By the way, the guy I told to kill the commissar should actually do it, because he's still under my control, and the officer forgot.
Oh yeah,
Okay, that's a good point. Off he wanders, knife in hand.
Oh my
That's
god.
not going to push the other guy over the limit.
Oh,
Right?
you're right.
Seconds later, the crack of a Mosin resounds through the forest.
All right, V, roll for bullet resistance.
Yes, basically. Right, yeah, he shoots you.
Do I have time to dominate him before he shoots me, or?
Not really, no.
Dominated by
That's a great dominate. Just a crumb. Please,
Sorry,
milady.
how much damage do I take? Is there any dodge skill or anything like that?
All right, Uzulu, it looks like our moment's coming. I think that was the signal for things went terribly wrong.
I do love this because this has really been just kind of a dancing at the edge, just trying to push it. And I mean, it wasn't a bad idea, but I think the constant reliance on dominate is running its course.
Speaking of which, chat's recommending that you dominate the bullet.
No, turn around.
So, to be honest,
Ritualist.
if I think
Ritualist, you know what to do.
Commissar dies, it's worth it because he's going to radio for help, and that's not quietly done. So
Yeah, I agree. We need to hurry up, but we don't need to hurry up and die. It's not quite the same thing.
So
Once we action here because it's been a little bit.
yeah, we're
like
gonna
us.
do turn orders now, I think.
All right.
How the fuck do you determine initiative in this game?
Good question.
And by the way, if I kill the ball, masquerade is lifted. Like I don't break the masquerade, right?
Right.
It's true, but not necessarily the way you want to do it. So at this point, I guess it's our only choice.
It is now.
I do hate fighting. It's barely got rules for fucking combat.
Okay, I have a little girl with a pistol.
That is true.
Even though in the picture she's got a massive sniper rifle.
Which is this
It's resting on the ground. She's gonna hold it. He's just
It's
balanced.
just a prop.
Yeah.
It's just a cardboard cutout.
Right, so he shoots me. He shoots me once. You take 4 points of damage. This is blunt damage, which vampires don't give too much of a shit about, so you get to cut that in half.
So just 2 points, right?
2 points.
And I have 6 in total.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 4. All right.
Seeing a guy barely react to being shot with a rifle is definitely going to
Like,
calm him down.
I'm going to
What's
fall
your
on the ground.
what's your perform? Can you pretend?
I want to perform that I'm dead, actually.
Okay,
So,
fair enough.
okay, so before that, that's a good idea. So you see your health bar, yeah?
Yeah.
This is just basic bullshit damage, which isn't particularly dangerous to you, so just click it once so you see the line there. Because that shows that you can heal this.
The slash.
Ah,
Oh, yeah, I see what you mean, yeah.
What's your
Red.
health bar, yeah?
yeah.
The red is full. Now you've taken just basic damage, which isn't particularly dangerous to you, so just click it once and you get the slash.
It's
So
like
if I
temp
suck
damage.
if I suck someone, I get the health back, yeah?
You can heal out of this fairly easily and quickly.
Right.
And you want to
Perform dead, yeah.
perform dead, okay. Sure, performance plus wit, I'd probably say.
Oh, hold on, I missed it.
Now would be the good time for Sargon to come back, wouldn't it? It's Sargon, if he's getting himself shot.
Right, five fucking degrees of success. Yeah, you make it look good. I mean, you roll with the bullet and go down. Yeah. The rifleman is like, oh, what? He steps closer. What? He's panicking too, poor bastard.
What about the officer? He control a soldier to the nuts.
So now I'm gonna add turns.
That rifleman was called Franz Ferdinand.
Well, wait,
Started the
isn't
war.
should combat be considered over for the moment?
No, it's
No,
started.
because now we're gonna start like doing actions one by one to get a little bit of order on it, since this is important, kind of.
We've got 3 different people, 2 different groups trying to do 3 different things.
Basically, yes. So we're gonna do a little bit of order here.
And we don't even have our final party member either.
So let's fucking 5e barely has rules for combat. It's like scenes, the lasting of a scene. 1, 2, and 3 done combat. So basically, I should just ask you all to do 1 dice roll now, and we'll determine the entire fucking thing from that.
It's kind of stupid, though.
It is. It's dumb.
A 1d20. We get no advantages for anything.
It's just
But-
a random. Okay.
Well, that doesn't make any sense. Should it not be based off of? Well, here, let's see.
Yes, we're gonna do it a bit more advanced than that.
Athletics or awareness or maybe dexterity.
So, Even character has an initiative rating equal to the composure plus awareness. That's your initiative.
Seems fair.
Composure plus awareness.
That's a trait plus a skill. I guess we just roll both of them separately.
So a +6. Excellent.
Awareness. No, go composure, and then it doesn't do that. That's a bit tricky.
Yeah, you roll awareness, and then you choose composure as the input value.
All right.
Oh, can you do that? Oh, perfect. Yeah, that'll work then.
And then no modifiers.
What would modifiers be for this, for future reference? Would they be like getting the jump on people, or surprising them, or catching them off guard, or preparing an ambush?
Could I get a +1 to mine, because I am in fact face first on the ground outside of this guy's line of sight?
No.
Okay.
Well, do the Uzulu and I, do we get a +1 because we are preparing for an ambush?
Yes, I'd probably give you a bonus. Yes.
It looks like I didn't need it.
So, this fucking thing doesn't auto-calculate that. Shit. Instead of that, because that messes it up, so awareness, you've got the number of pips in awareness plus the numbers of pips in composure.
6,
those are the numbers of d10s you have. So just roll that amount of d10s.
All right.
And then you'll get
a... For us.
Yeah, +1 d10.
Okay. So roll 7d10.
How do you feed on someone? Like, is it a grapple check or?
Probably.
So do the thing first.
It's not a bad roll.
Like, for
example, one crit
guy...
one crit.
So your awareness plus your composure, that amount of d10s.
Yeah. Plus any bonuses.
So
plus
for us,
1
it just
d10.
+1 d10.
Yes.
Oh, shit, that's even better than mine.
And
There it is. I don't have much in either of those skills.
And V.
I roll.
We're gonna do it differently. Yeah, we're doing it again.
Yeah, if wrong, I can roll again.
Awareness plus
doing it
charisma,
differently,
that
Lee.
many of d10s.
No, composure, not charisma.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
So I've got two composure. I've got 1 awareness. So that's.
Here we go.
No, V, that's not it. Do what we
not
did. You take your amount of awareness, which is a skill, the number of dots you have in there, and then the number of dots you have in composure. Add that number together. And then if you've got any bonuses, which I don't think you do, then you'd add that on as well. And then do that many d10s. So for me, I have 2 awareness and 4 composure. So I'd roll 6 d10s.
Yeah.
And since we were in ambush, we got an extra d10.
Yeah, so I rolled 7 d10s.
Mm-hmm.
Right. 5.
How does the biting work? Like, for example, if I want to get up and just bite the soldiers next to me, would it be a brawl check? Or because the thing is, I don't have brawl, but I think all vampires should be able to feed on people. So
Not automatically now.
At the moment there, I was thinking bite. What the hell? But then I remembered with vampires.
Yeah.
How could you forget with all the dominate?
Yeah. He hasn't forgotten. He's
No, the dominate is just standard V bullshit. I have to say, like it's the same as last campaign.
Oh yeah, that's right.
V is the tactic these days to just go for whatever D&D character will get you the most power over other people.
It works on humans, but on supernatural creatures, it doesn't work as well.
Yeah, because we're bound to encounter loads of them.
How many of you guys have played Bloodlines here? Because that's actually quite a good game.
I did.
Yeah, it's good, man. And it's actually a pretty good intro to this kind of setting and system.
Yeah, it's like the Jedi mind trick bullshit.
Yeah,
So,
that's basically what it is.
You can grapple. You'd have to grapple, and then you can bite.
Yeah,
But we'll start with Rags. So, Rags, you are... oh god, switching between these two fucking maps is gonna be annoying. Ah, god. Right, so Rags, you are located at the bottom window, so you can see out... I should actually just pull your fucking... your thing there.
Did he kill the commissar?
I'm
We've lost
trying
our
to
turn
just...
already.
And I'm trying to... I just want to zoom... I just want to pull this thing so it's not at the far right of the screen.
Elforgattak, bazd meg.
I guess I can.
Mindig
I
hátba
can go up and
lőttek.
down, not left and right. All right then.
Beszarok.
Well, right now, all I've heard is a single
Soha nem
gunshot.
láttam még ilyet, hogy
That's enough.
egymás után lőnek, és
Yeah.
folyton mindig hátba lőnek.
So,
I think the turn order is set for like each map. So switching is going to be awful.
I can still see the turn order.
Okay, we can't see it.
So, I'm kind of just 3 guys in here though, and I want to keep gunshots to a minimum. See if there's a way that we can still kind of resolve this in a way that doesn't draw so much attention. But you know, he's probably. Oh, did the commissar in any way who is going to the radio react to the gunshot outside?
Yes, you know, they're shocked and surprised, like, what the fuck's going on?
They're looking that way. We could maybe just jump in through the windows.
He's turning around to listen to the gunshot. He's also now spotting these riflemen advancing towards him with a fucking knife. Which might freak him out more, who knows?
There's
Okay.
more riflemen on the way up there.
I suppose he wants to do it subtly, like it doesn't have to be like knife in hand. It's
You didn't told him to do it and tell him to do it subtly. You just told him to go fucking kill the commissar.
yeah, but he's using his best judgment to do it.
His best judgment to go kill the commissar with a knife, yes. So I'm gonna mark these riflemen with a green indicator.
All right. That makes our life a whole lot easier.
Yes, it does.
Oh
Yes,
god,
it
that
does.
makes things easier. All right, so I'm going to jump through. Just I can probably just even just looking through the window would be sufficient.
Yeah, you can see
instead
the what your line of sight would be like.
Yeah, I can see everybody from the window. Yeah, I'm right
Yeah,
up
pretty
next
much.
to it. So what I'm gonna do is the one that I don't point at, I assume Uzlu will, because he's no dummy. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna. Well, actually, let me see. Can I, while they're distracted, I'm going to use my my submachine gun, and I'm going to. Well, I'm thinking, do I want to break the glass to grab their attention, and then with the gun point it to the commissar here?
Just shoot through the glass, man.
I don't want to kill anyone yet.
We want to keep it quiet as well. We could shoot when we're inside, maybe.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah,
So
you're
what I'm-
gonna try and get him to surrender, basically, I guess.
pretty
that's
much,
the
yeah.
idea,
Yeah, staring down an SMG.
And they're already
is no
freaked
joke.
out. They might just give up.
Yeah, they'll think it's like a legit. They've been ambushed because a gunshot goes around outside. They don't know whose it is. So they're all thinking something's going down outside. They don't know what's happening. I take the butt of my SMG. I bash the window to make that loud noise, and I aim the gun directly at the commissar. And with my other hand, I motion, basically get down, I point at him, then at the floor. Pretty self-explanatory. And
Do you
I
know-
will
sorry,
use... Huh?
I was going to ask if you know Russian. You could tell them to surrender in Russian.
I can't remember if I know Russian.
It'll be
I'm-
on your second tab, I think. Chronicle.
Chronicle.
It's going to be funny if they surrender and the guy comes and stabs the commissar in the back.
Exclusions
Yeah,
from
that would be
Lover,
pretty
Food,
bad.
Bloodhound, Beautiful. I can't remember if I had Russian or not. I
Yeah, don't
imagine
think
we
so.
get 2
Because then it
we
should
get-
be under merits. There should be the linguistic merit.
Merits and flaws, yeah. I have it under there.
Food, Bloodhound. I don't have linguistic, no.
Well, I'll tell
So
you what, I'm going next, so I could just shout surrender quite
That's
loudly
true.
into the
That's
room.
very true. And he is looking at an SMG, so that's kind of a universal language.
Well, I think we'll assume that you and I do this at the same time, because we can see
Yeah.
each other from outside, so we can
Yeah,
time
it'll-
it, as long as Arch is okay with that.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, yeah, you're after me, so it'll be pretty
Yeah.
simultaneous. Not only that, but my ability that allows me to see in the dark, it also increases Intimidate because it makes my eyes glow red. So that will add to the intimidation factor, as if the firearm didn't do it enough.
That would break the masquerade.
That's
Huh?
true.
Yeah, I'm not sure if your eyes can actually do that.
No, that's what it says
Where?
in the rule book. The here, let me load it up.
Ez a banda, ez ki van
Let me
fulladva,
roll through
meg
here. Look through celerity. that's Protean. Let me do that. So it says here, Eyes of the Beast. While active, the user ignores any sight penalties, blah, blah, blah. While active, the inhuman appearance of the eyes confers 2 bonus dice to intimidation pools against mortals.
That is indeed exactly what it do, yes. Nice, that's really good.
Would it break right now?
No, you think they're going to believe that, oh, and when the German broke the glass, his eyes were glowing red.
That does sound like a tall tale.
There's no way that they would believe it. It's just subtle enough to where, So, yeah, add some extra intimidation here. Do I need to roll for that?
Right, so 2 bonus dice to intimidation. So I think we'll do intimidation plus... I'm tempted to say strength, because...
2 and 4, so...
Yeah, I'll say strength, because, it isn't really charisma, nor manipulation, or composure. You're trying to... Yeah, we'll call it strength.
Alright, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I will
then just do intimidation, attribute strength, and modifier 2. And that should roll correctly.
Alright, we can double check and make sure.
While you're doing that, I've got some artwork here. Here's the first one. V for getting to dominate everyone else.
Kill the commissar.
Then here's the second one.
Tovarez,
good evening.
Yeah, that could pose a problem, the guy with the knife, because I think we are quite likely to convince these 2 to surrender, but then what the fuck do we do when there's still a guy trying to kill him? Like, what are we actually going to do? We're going to have to tell them, okay, surrender.
We'll just let him do it.
That guy.
Just let him do it.
Let him do it, man.
You'll be breaking the law. Bad. You're told that if commissars don't shoot at you, you're supposed to treat them nice.
Yeah, and I'm not doing anything. Not my fault.
I mean,
the commissar.
technically we aren't breaking the law.
Yes, you are.
Here's what we might be able
We didn't stab him.
You did make him get stabbed, so yes.
No one else
No,
knows
it's
that.
okay. It's okay. I'll
I
explain
will know.
to the officer that he was making radio for help.
No, V, bad V. So, let's do the roll. So, yes, that seems to be correct. And add in another bonus for the surprise. So, you'll have 3 modifier.
Oh, okay. Let me do that then. So, charisma with a strength. Boom, modifier 3.
Intimidation plus strength.
Intimidation plus strength.
Yes.
Oh, okay, here we go. Intimidation plus strength attribute. Submit 3 modifier.
3
Get the
degrees of
hell.
success. Yep, that's pretty good. Let me roll his composure, I guess. Yeah, no, you got him. He's looking pretty scared. He isn't even reaching for his weapon. He just throws his hands up.
You got to factor in the fact that because we're doing this a little bit out of time, I've already broken the glass and shouted surrender in Russian by this time, so I'm sure that's helping the intimidation. But I guess we're doing my turn next.
Yep, we're doing your turn now, so...
Right,
Excellent.
fantastic. I'm going to do almost exactly the same thing that Dev did, point the gun at them. I don't have an SMG, but it's a rifle.
But Dev did, okay.
Yeah, except the Rags version of Dev. The Rags version of Dev. Look, you can't infer from that I don't know the difference, okay? That I don't think they all look the same.
Right, intimidate plus strength and a bonus of 1, because you don't have glowy eyes. I will actually, no, bonus of 2, because you speak Russian. That's good too.
Alright, I'm breaking the glass, pointing the gun at them, and then shouting in Russian the words, the surrender, or whatever. So, I'm rolling intimidation with a bonus of 2, yeah?
Yes.
Intimidation on charisma?
Strength.
Strength, okay. Well, this is not things I'm that good at. Hopefully the 2 bonus will help. Oh, it's something.
Well, it is 1 success. Yep, you don't add a whole lot to Ragus's success, but... I mean, the commissar's still surrendering, and the poor tank man sitting by the table, he's just sad and confused.
He's like, this is my day now.
Like, this is my life. Why? Why is this happening to me? Right. So next up is V's turn. Can you see the turn order again now?
Yeah.
You can. Yeah.
We could see the elements of
That's
the turn order that
perfect.
you had added in afterwards when we were in that room. I think maybe it's aligned to the tokens that are present in the room that we're currently in. Maybe that's a convenience feature, so you might be able to change that.
That could be nice. Yeah. So V, what are you doing? You're prone, currently lying on the ground. The dude is standing over you with a rifle.
Playing dead.
Is that all?
Yeah, let's hope he doesn't double tap.
I hope the officer is going to arrest him or something because he just shot the German officer.
Okay, then it's the tank crewman who was in the middle of eating some delicious bowl of cereal and vodka, and he's just looking around like, shit, this got lively all of a sudden. Puts down his spoon and raises his hands.
Good, Russian.
Still chewing. Like, oh, God.
Up until now, I have a feeling that the communists at the border were thinking, wow, the Germans certainly didn't send their best.
Heavens. Right, and then it's back outside again to the rifleman who's standing right over V, and what does he do? Right, I'm now going to roll to see if he figures out that V is not dead, or
I rolled a
is dead.
critical success on performance.
Well, we would so would Dev think that he's dead?
Oh, let's see. Oh, that's pretty good. Oh God, wow, that's like wow. Okay, yeah, he double
Sounding
taps.
good. Shit.
Right, he thinks you look pretty fucking suspicious and puts another bullet in you.
How much damage is it?
Another 4. I mean, he doesn't miss at that fucking range.
Oh God.
Yeah, I don't know.
Are you-
Oh, I don't know. It is a Mosin.
So cut it in half to 4-2.
I've got another artwork here. Here.
Oh boy.
Can I ask what your max health is? What you started at?
One.
There's me fantasizing about only having one strength.
I hope the officer will stop him though.
He just pumps another round in him like I saw him squirming.
Because V, I've got a maximum of 5 health. If that happened to me, I'd be on 1 health.
Yeah, V is on 1
There's
health.
blunt,
He's not
it's
looking
blunt
great.
damage.
No, I have 6. I took 4 damage, so I have 2.
2.
Right, V's rifleman approaches the officer with knife raised.
Okay, this is the moment of truth. This is kind of an unusual situation you wouldn't normally have to deal with when you've taken hostages. Asking the hostages to stop their friend killing them.
It is an unusual situation, I admit. And then there's Dev's turn.
It's not like they have video cameras. We can tell them the story the way we want to tell them the story.
And that is true, but we still, if we can do this better, we might as well. If we can say, look, we captured them all, that would be pretty impressive. Not a single shot fired. Well, okay, a single shot. Two shots.
Two shots fired.
And
But both of them were at us, and we're fine.
Both of them are from the commissar.
I mean, we could say that. The Russians might contravene the story. But it probably wouldn't matter.
Okay, so has he noticed me here? I assume not.
He knows you're there, yes. But he's more worried about the person playing dead.
Is he bent over checking on V?
Yeah, he's basically leaning over after having fired another round in his chest, like, oh, still moving.
What does
Right,
he
well, like a gremlin, I'm going to pounce on him and try to stab him in the neck with my knife.
Okay, I guess fuck the whole capture them all alive practice thing. We just stabby.
Can't you at least put it at his throat and, like, threaten him or something instead of fucking stabbing him? Poor guy.
No, it's going right in.
Fucking hell, that's cruel. Alright, that's horrible, but fair enough.
I assume that there's going to be like an athletics involved because I'm jumping.
Are you actually going to try and jump on him?
Yes.
Right, extended test.
If you fail this roll, V is most likely dead.
Not
Because
really.
they will jump and shoot.
Do I have to perform again, Arch, or is that my previous roll still?
You
I
can
don't think you have to
again,
perform.
but
You got shot again.
his roll was really good. He probably isn't going to shoot you again, probably, but, dice gods.
No, I performed the dead. That's the performance.
and he saw through you, or felt paranoid enough to put another round in. But yeah, okay. Roll athletics first, Dev, to see if you even get off the ground.
Attribute.
Dexterity, I guess. Yeah.
No modifiers. Got a 1.
1 degree of success. Right, well, you leap at him at least.
Alright.
So it's a
Okay.
good point. The Russians attacked first. All of this is self-defense. So once again, we're self-defending ourselves to victory.
And they're going to call this a false flag operation.
At this point, actually, what with the stabbing him in the neck thing, we're self-defending ourselves to another massacre.
Like, all I'm saying is, for the record, the Russians struck first.
So,
Unless you count
I'm
the
off.
dominates, in which we struck first, second, third, maybe fourth.
So I'm off the ground.
Yep, melee and dexterity, since you're just using a dagger.
Dexterity. No modifiers. Wait, I don't even surprise him?
Well, not really. He's already put 2 rounds into V. He's on guard.
Alright, well, there's one.
From behind, something is going to approach.
Okay. Well, he is going to have a negative modifier to defending himself, because he's not facing you right now, but he does get to try and defend himself.
Right.
Okay. Their dexterity and their athletics. Alright. He tries to get out of the way. Wow. No, he fails miserably. Yeah, you sink the dagger right into him.
I was aiming for the neck. Do I get the neck?
No.
What do I get?
You deal 2 damage to him.
Okay.
Which, to be fair, is a lot of damage for a human.
Guess we're not
he's,
getting the pacifist achievement.
yeah, I mean, he fucking screams out in pain. You've buried this dagger in his side. He's not doing well.
Alright. I guess that's my turn then, right?
Yep. Now it's the NKVD officer, who is busy holding his pistol up and hoping somebody doesn't shoot him. And then it's...
How's it going out there, guys? We've got the situation under control in here.
Damn it, back outside again. The officer, who is watching... Okay, first, he saw his buddy put 2 rounds in V, just because he was being creepy. Then the little girl jumps and stabs his soldier in the side. What kind of decision would he even make in this situation?
We're just gonna faint.
It kind of makes sense that since the soldier attacked me first, someone else would defend me.
Okay, since V thinks that makes sense, I'm going to do the exact opposite of that. He draws his pistol, but he's too confused to use it. In fact, fuck, he doesn't know who to use it on, honestly, so he passes his turn.
Okay.
And then at one point in his life, Arch said, "Oh yeah, I'll DM the next campaign. How bad could it be?"
Right, Rax's turn. Both the soldiers are surrendering. The guy with the knife, however, is not surrendering.
V, I don't suppose from lying down outside you could, like, undo your dominate quickly.
I don't power because I was stop them.
So I'll
What's
give
the
them
yellow
little yellow markers
okay.
for showing
For
that they're surrendering.
Alright,
Alright.
gotcha.
Okay, so you could just, use your turn to climb through the window whilst keeping your weapons at them.
I think I will do that. I need to get inside, so I'll climb through the window. They've already got a gun on them anyway. So I'll climb through the window. It might be a good idea for us to... This dude's got a knife. Well, I might be able to restrain him, though. What is strange.
Yeah, but the
Damn
thing is, like,
God damn it, V.
they might stop surrendering if you start fighting with the other guy.
Yeah, I mean, I've got my gun on them still, but they might risk it anyway. And I don't want to have to use it, ideally, because it's going to cause a lot of noise.
You wouldn't die. Like, why do you care so much about this commissar?
Yeah, maybe I actually shouldn't. Even though Jordan Peterson would, Jurgen Panserson certainly wouldn't.
It will be the blood not on my hands.
Yeah, it's on me. I'll take responsibility for it.
Oh, I've been waiting for you to say that. So, what I was going to do with this guy not having the dagger was to have us basically herd them into that room there, and we can have one guy keeping a gun on him while the other one of us maybe goes and helps. But these shenanigans have made that more complicated. So,
Doesn't start with.
What a strange scenario.
I suppose I could, if you can hold them surrendering, I could maybe hop through the window, rush to him, and hit him in the head to knock him out before any of this happens. I don't know if I'll have time in my turn to do that.
The guy with the guy with the knife.
Yeah.
Well, does the turn order? Who goes after we do? Does the commissar go before Knife Man?
Let's see.
And why isn't the Knife Man already at the commissar though?
Knife Man goes before Commissar.
Damn it.
How?
Okay, so how determined exactly is Knife Man?
Very
to stab?
determined.
Very.
Let's just put it this way, it was a V roll.
Like, his order is to stab Commissar, which means that is his one sole goal, so even if you were to get in front of him and punch him out, he wouldn't see you as necessarily a threat, you know? Because all he thinks now is stab Commissar.
Alright, I have a question, and I don't know if either player or either character would know this, Arch, but since I don't know much about this game type, would I be able to get through the window, run to him, and hit him in the head in one turn?
Probably not, unless you would, like, take your weapon off the other two guys and just sprint over there, then maybe, but unlikely.
The thing is, like, if you try that, they might take advantage of the situation and stop surrendering.
Yeah, but they've got a rags behind them with guns pointed at both of them, so...
Yeah, I have a submachine gun on me, pointed right at him. Geez, what a strange scenario we've ended up getting ourselves into. I don't want anyone to die. That's the thing. I want as little bloodshed as possible. Like, nice and clean.
Drax, there's already a person that's going to die outside because.
Yeah, but it's you.
No.
Well, I'm glad someone else said it.
No, it's I gotta keep. Because we don't know that. We just heard 2 gunshots. We don't know who shot or what's happened.
It's true.
So.
Right.
That means we have no culpability whatsoever if he dies because of our actions.
I'm going to enforce the stop clock again. Decision whether or
Alright.
not to knock him out or not in a minute.
Alright, so Arch, just to clarify, if I did sprint and don't point my guns at the other two, and if I try to just hit him in the head or brawl with him or whatever, I'd just about be able to make it, yeah?
Yeah.
Or maybe not.
Alright, so that in mind, I have a 4 strength and a 2 brawl. Would I be able to... and I have the red eyes for intimidate. Would there be a way for me to physically restrain Knife Man?
Probably, yeah.
I recommend you don't, if I'm going to do my thing. Just pull the Commissar back, say, Commissar, he's trying... Well, you can't speak Russian, do you? I guess I could say
I can
running over.
motion. I can make the motion. That's a simple motion.
I guess
Come
so.
here. Alright, so that's what I'll do.
If he's looking at you, which I assume he is.
Yeah, he is. So that's what I'll do. What I'll do is I will, with my gun raised, I will motion for the Commissar to come towards me, and in fact, motion for him to go into the room that's beneath me.
Okay.
People in the chat and V might be thinking, why don't you just let him die? He might be a valuable prisoner, and it's not going to take that much to stop him dying.
And if none of them die, if we take them without any casualties, that will look good for us.
Except the one that Dev already stabbed.
Except for the one Dev. Well, I don't know that, but my character doesn't know that.
That's true, that's true.
Really
Character doesn't know
nasty
that.
tortured in a Nazi concentration camp.
Yeah, but we're going to get the credit, V. It's
I'm
not
a
moral, it's
German
tactical.
vampire. I'm not a Auschwitz guard. Big difference.
Yeah,
So,
just
you're gonna
make no mistake that
move
this is not
towards
a
him.
moral decision. This is a
Keep
tactical
the
decision.
weapons trained on him, come over here,
Yep,
and motion him over. So he does that.
absolutely.
Uzulu rushes over and tries to restrain this guy, just, holding him back. He's not resisting, he's just like, must stab Commissar.
He's like a mummy or something. Most
Basically.
Commissar.
Would that be brawl?
No, he's not resisting you at all.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Just I have
alright.
a good melee and not a good brawl, so I figured if I could use that instead. Hence the hitting with the butt of the gun. But I guess if he's not resisting, it doesn't matter.
The tanker is wondering whether or not he can resume eating his fucking cereals.
He's like, I did not get paid for this shit. He's probably just glad to have cereal to eat, probably.
Gentlemen, we have the situation handled in here. How's it going out there?
Back outside, V is still on the ground.
Bravo,
Would you like
team,
to
how are
continue to
things?
play dead?
Yes.
Okay.
Since the guy's distracted, maybe now's not a good time to just continue lying there and wait for the next bullet.
I have 2 more HP. I don't want to get shot.
You're just as likely to get shot if you do nothing, apparently.
No, because apparently he's concentrated on Devo.
Yeah, to be fair, he's currently being stabbed, so there's that.
Yeah, but
I'll
that's
save
the
you, V.
officer.
But I have to
I
make sure
guess-
that this body is extra dead.
Yeah, that's true. I guess if you stand up, the officer might shoot you as well, so maybe it is best for you to lie down.
Right, so it's the rifleman's turn. He's fucking stabbed, he's screaming. He's not having fun with this.
I think we need fan art of the serial communist.
Yeah, he falls back on his ass, just clenching his wound, basically, drops his rifle. Rolls around, screams owie in Russian. The knife dude, he just kind of must stab communist. Like he's wondering why you're stopping him. That's all he's doing.
I think I need to subdue him or get the knife off him or something.
And Dev,
Yes.
stop stabbing the Russian.
No, I'll just pounce on him and stab him and finish him off.
Fucking horrible. Okay.
Yeah. If he's rolling around on the ground, I'll just like stand over his chest and then put it into his brain or something.
But Dev, prison.
So
I
what?
think there are some philosophical incongruities in this party.
Well, there was in the last one too.
That's true. Look how that went.
Okay, well, roll melee dexterity just in case you fuck it up, I guess.
All right. We can take the important people off. It doesn't a big deal. Melee dexterity.
Every person is important.
Every person. Every
Are
life.
you playing my monk?
To be fair, these are communists. They don't even
shit.
classify as people, let alone important.
Right, you could just go over to him, flip him over, put the knife at the back of his head and just beat it in with your tiny little child fist. Just like, eh.
Hamster says while he's
Right, well, he's dead. Shit.
The officer does seem to be like one strange thing away from just fainting.
Basically. The commissar is just obeying Rank's instructions. The officer, again,
Maybe he goes back in.
no, he's probably caught between shooting Dev right now and just giving up, I guess. Giving up on life, giving up on his everything, essentially.
Any chance that he heard me yell surrender?
Probably, which probably just confuses him even fucking more, to be honest.
Oh,
I
V.
think in that situation he might just surrender.
On your next turn, you should probably get some blood from him. Because
Yeah,
I
true.
might have killed him, but there's still like a few minutes before it loses its potency.
Well, let's see what the captain does first, because I have 2 HP and I don't want the captain to see me feeding.
That's perfect. He's seconds away from collapsing in disbelief, and you're about to get up, having been shot twice, and drink the blood of the guy that's just been stabbed to death.
It's okay. It'll be fine. You
It's
can
like
blood
it's
heal
like
with it.
2 parallel campaigns are happening inside and outside.
Yeah, and
Opposite
we're having to
universes.
deal with the overflow from the outside one.
Okay, I'm just gonna give him a dice roll then to see what he's gonna do. Yeah, he doesn't want any fucking part of this. Like, he puts up his pistol and hopes to surrender, I guess. Although, if you play, like, he's on the... Right now, he's thinking, shit, okay, I don't want to die, but if this crazy bitch looks towards me in a strange fashion, I will shoot her. He's holding on to his pistol for the moment. Alright, Rags, it is your turn.
All right.
I mean, at this point, it's more or less pacified, but then
Yeah.
hear a voice as a rather drunken-looking man comes stumbling out of the room.
There's 6.
So, Vishen Dillo. He's one.
How happened to his
Going
picture?
on.
He's drunk. That's drunk Russian picture. Okay.
If you want to pass your turn to after me, I can shout surrender.
Can I do that?
I mean, I'm saying you can normally in 5e, but I'm saying that because what he does in response to me saying surrender might impact your decision. Although I guess it doesn't matter. I don't know where his turn order is, so maybe not.
Yeah, does he need to... Is he a combatant at the moment? Is he... Well, first off, is he even armed?
No, he doesn't appear to be. He seems drunk and half asleep.
Good. And it might be best to just carry on.
Well, when I get the chance, I'll shout surrender. He'll probably drop what he's doing.
All right.
Wow.
Drop whatever he's doing.
I mean, actually, I have one in dominate, so I can use my skill perhaps a little more tactfully than has been in the past.
You know what you can do?
I can do a one-word command and they'll follow it. So I'll just shout surrender at him.
All you have to do is just point the gun at the dude you have and say, just surrender or I'll shoot.
That's a bit more complex than he's able to understand right now. I think he's incredibly drunk.
All right, it's fair enough. I don't know. Surrender might confuse him too. I almost want to say that in his state, he's not even armed yet. So
tell him to, get over here.
Sure, yeah. I can't see him. I don't think. I can't see him. Well, but what I'll do is I'll point at the tanker, and I'll indicate the same intimidation that I've had, that he needs to go into the room as well.
Okay, so these guys are going.
Will it be possible for me to take both of their sidearms?
Yeah, you can just ask him to drop them. The tanker isn't even armed.
Oh, okay, I gotcha. But I'll motion him to go back into that room. Just sit on the boxes or whatever. Just go in there.
Okay.
Now keep the gun on them. And from this angle, if anything comes in the other door, I'll see in a second. But yeah, so 2 are down. Sort of 1 to go. But that should. I've just looked at the manual and what I can do. I was going on what the wiki said, but the manual actually is more permissive. I can do a short sentence to be abated the letter. They must be able to complete the task in a single turn. So I don't just have to say surrender. I can say drop to the ground and put your hands on your head or something. That's simple enough, and you can do that in 1 turn. So I can be clear, and because I know Russian, he'll do it as well. I hope, unless he's so out of it that he's just. I think he's harmless either way, but that's probably a good idea.
That's true, yeah. But yeah,
even if it fails, what's he gonna do?
But this is minor stuff. So let's let the other guys have their turn, because what they're doing is a bit more unstable.
We just wanted to give everyone just a tiny little glimpse at success.
I'm sure that we'll hold this up throughout the entire campaign as well.
All right, let's do it. We don't even have Sork here. Oh, all right. Let's go ahead, go for it. Yeah, you bet.
All right. What about Knife Man?
Well, I've got him. I don't need to do anything with him.
No.
If you take his knife away, he won't be able to fulfill the order.
Yes, indeed. And he'll also not react if I try and knock him out with the butt of my gun. So, could I do either of those on the same turn as shouting at the other guy?
Yeah, sure. You could just take his knife, and that'll be
fair
pretty much it.
Yeah, as long as he doesn't have the knife, then his order to stab somebody will be like, what is he? I assume he'll just be like, well.
It will require him to think again, and
oh god, oh fuck! Quick, get him a butter knife.
He might enter. He might do unexpected things at that point, though. He might not surrender.
Maybe, yeah. Take him out. Yeah, incapacitate him.
He still thinks he's a German spy.
Oh, that's true. That's a good point. Okay, V, your dominate is definitely coming in handy. All right, so I'll grab the knife and I'll use my dominate on the other guy just in case.
Okay, he's completely unprepared. He's barely fucking awake, so you can just do it. He gets down, surrenders.
Right. Good. And the knife? Do I need to roll for that?
No, he doesn't resist.
That was a fucking easy turn. Okay.
Back to you, guys.
We've got the situation double and triple handled in here. How are you doing out there?
Back to V. Would you like to get up at some point?
Well, if I get up, won't it split the officer?
Yes, it will. It will fucking split
Oh, we
the
wouldn't want that.
They will tell the officer to get inside.
It's not my turn yet.
Well, it's pretty much is. I mean, combat is more or less done at this point.
Yeah, I'll pass the turn to Devil so he can tell the officer to get inside, and I'll drink the blood.
I can't speak.
No,
I can't speak Russian.
The blood-stained
keeps getting better
little
and better.
squirrel girl just looks at him like, Deutsche inside, go no?
Yeah. I'm like half his height, so I'll just like go up to him and look up with my large dead eyes, and then just like shake my head towards him, towards the inside.
Point
Okay.
the knife that's currently dripping with his comrade's blood towards the door.
Yep.
Like, yeah, he'll go inside.
As soon as he goes inside, I pulse and I start feeding.
Okay, mark off your hunger and do a rouse check. So you can rouse the blood and then you get heal.
How do I do a route check?
I think
Just
it's at the
the
bottom
rouse.
of the character sheet.
Yep.
There is a rouse.
It's a rouse roll, yeah.
Bottom left.
Oh,
You fail.
what does this mean?
Nothing. You just fuck up.
Oh, I don't bleed?
You have to wait till next turn.
You do forget your hunger, so make your hunger back to the base.
Yeah.
All right, I'm back. What's up?
And what about the health?
No healing done.
Oh wait, I noticed one of the icons is gone while I stepped out. What?
Yeah, the officer surrendered.
Officer went inside.
Okay.
I assume, Dev, you're going to follow behind him to handle him so that we don't have to increase the number of people that we're handling each.
Oh fuck it, we'll take care of it. No, we'll take care of it. It's fine. Don't worry.
So, how many turns does V have before this blood becomes no longer usable? Like, how long?
15 minutes, so, you've all got plenty of time if you want to have a quick sip, but...
Just stands out there failing to combine with the corpse for 15 minutes.
I
the door
try to-
is left
yeah,
ajar, so inside is the next turn again. You can see two more guys, but they seem to still be sleeping.
Brilliant, there's two more. Okay. How are they still sleeping? There were 2 gunshots and 2 broken windows.
Well, the first guy is barely awake after
These are
stumbling out of
Russians.
drunken stupor.
Unless stated otherwise, it is assumed that they are intoxicated.
Fair enough. That is a good point.
This is their
Oh,
natural habitat.
The natural habitat, indeed.
Is the officer separate from those 2?
The
Officer
officer
was
is
chased inside.
up by the door.
Dev, can I assume that you're right behind him? Handling
No.
him so that we don't have to increase our workload by 3 this turn alone.
Dev is
I'm
busy
basi-
licking his knife.
I'm kinda. I was actually like watching the door to make sure that V could feed without being seen.
That's what's important right now.
So I'm like in the doorway, so I can see what he's doing, but I'm not directly behind him.
Yeah, I'll try
I'm
to feed it again. Is that another rouse check or?
Well, combat
Next
isn't
turn.
said pretty much over now, so I'm just going to assume that you guys, herd them together and pacify the last sleepers by, waking them, holding weapons at them and telling them to get the fuck inside.
Yeah, pretty simple. Not
That's a very, very convenient assumption. Thank you.
There's nothing complex about what you need to do now.
Sure. We'll make sure to grab their weapons and put them somewhere else in the room as well.
The Russian,
Yeah, we'll-
the German
we'll stack more
spy,
together.
of course, helps you,
Yep. Okay, I guess I'll come inside then. I'll come inside. And V, with 15 minutes of attempts, you probably just get it and get your
Yeah,
heals.
you can heal back up to full.
They're all like, Dimitri,
Okay.
what the fuck?
But are you sure you want to have V back inside, though? He might freak out the prisoners.
No, I'm
They
going to
can't-
go to the guy
They
with the
probably won't be able to see him.
No, I'm going to go to the guy with the radio and tell them that we have captured all of the guards and they can send in the troops.
Okay, yep. That is received. You find the small squad, they radio it back, and you get congratulations, as there wasn't any huge uproar.
Well,
Okay.
we captured all but one of the guards.
There is one thing I'd like to do, since we have them all rounded up. Do I know which one of them was the tank operator?
Well, you can ask him.
I mean, we know, so.
Yeah. So here, I'll come in wherever I am.
This is the serial man.
Yeah, I'll grab the cereal. Okay, I'll take his cereal.
Oh god,
I'll
no.
go up. I'll go up to the cereal man, and I'll start
Please.
eating his cereal.
No.
Why?
How
Eat
could
his
you?
cereal in front of him, and then
How
I'll
could
say,
you?
and then because I can't speak Russian, I'll like hold my hand up as if I'm holding a set of keys and like jingling them. Like, give me the keys to the tank.
Okay.
You could have just
You
asked
c-
one
you
of
could
us
just
to tell,
ask-
to tell
yeah.
him this complex
Yeah, but
message that you're trying
I
to
want
convey.
to do
Now
it.
we're
I want to do it
confused
this way.
too.
I want to do it this way.
Yeah, none of us
Okay.
would have any idea what you're
Is
implying
one of
there.
the is the cereal kind of wishy-washy? I don't understand which.
Well, first and foremost, you eat the cereals, then you vomit as they repulse you with their taste.
Hold on a
I
minute.
remember that. I remember you told us about that, yeah.
Yeah, you need iron gullet to eat food.
I thought I could just force it down but keep it. Hold
Not
on.
really. You can do a
After that,
performance check.
Okay, performance. Okay, I'll performance check then. Because
Actually, I have a thing called Eat Food as well, which you could have got if you have enough dots for it. So I can eat
Performance
it, but
charisma?
I have to pass it before the end of the day.
it's
Performance and resolve.
unresolved. Okay.
I do like this test system. It's pretty cool. Yeah, no, you vomit. Just
It's like
Jesus,
sorry.
this-
Okay, I'll just throw it up back into the bowl. It's like sorry, I ruined your cereal. I forgot.
All right. Well, in the meantime, the tank operator launches into a lengthy explanation that actually we don't use keys to start tanks here. It's just an ignition switch.
Okay.
Open the door at the back of the tank, not on top of it. Everything was already set up for it to go. Retard girl.
Yeah, it is pretty easy. You just turn the ignition and it's done. It's fine. No problem.
Okay, thanks. And I'll just like hand him the bowl and go outside to the tank.
He'll eat it. Fuck, he's Russian. He's eating worse.
I wonder what vampire lolly vomit tastes like.
It's like, oh, little girl spat in my food. Oh god, nom nom. Probably adds value to it when you think about it.
Where did Ritualist go? Good God.
I guess it's not technically. Well, actually, it is vomit, isn't it? Because you involved bile the moment you ingested the food. Maybe we could allow him to undo that because he would know that he can't eat the food.
No, it's funnier like this.
Okay, that's a good argument.
Okay, so mission successful. We'll wrap it up there probably. Mission very successful. A minimal amount of noise. Just a couple of gunshots into V. That's not terrible at all.
I just realized I can dominate our commander to think that sniper rifles are the best shit ever.
Yeah, try that. That's a great. That can't backfire in any fucking way, shape, or form.
Don't say that because he will actually try it.
No. That's a great idea, V. Fucking do it. Fucking do it.
I'll get him to pass it out to the chain
Also,
of command.
so
Like,
yeah,
look, it's actually a great weapon. You can single-targetedly pull out VIPs and you can snipe out the commanders and officers from a distance.
Oh yeah, it's great. Do it, and I'm sure he won't. He will never question this. He will never realize, and it'll be fine.
There you go, guys. I got some artwork for the occasion.
He was like,
No, Dad, no. So, yep, you report back your success. They're overjoyed by this, really.
Wait. Are we going back to the camp?
No.
Oh, I wanted to drive the tank back, but okay. I'm
You,
taking the tank.
Get the instructions that you are to wait where you are now, and there will be a messenger along with further information, and your truck, of course. So you stay there and waiting. There is a radio in the officer's room, where you can listen into Russian radio traffic as the offensive starts at 3 a.m. And it's quite interesting, as you are once again shown that the Russians did not expect this. For example, you hear one communication where a panicked radio officer are reporting back to command, "We're being fired on. What shall we do?" And the officer just answers, "You must be insane. Why is your message not in code?" and refuses to take any further communication. Air Force officers are reporting across open frequencies quoting that their airfields are being strafed. And again, they're being met by the same thing. That's impossible. Confirm it. It would actually take until somewhere along 5 a.m. before the Russian leadership was truly aware of the fact that the war had started. And by that time, it would be quite late. The first Panzer Armee is rolling past outside as you sit in there, keeping a little Russian prisoners company as tank after tank and trucks filled with Wehrmacht soldiers roll past into the night. Eventually,
you that story because it actually happened.
That actually happened, yes.
Fair enough.
The radio transmission there was a direct quote. The Russians had no fucking idea because they were under order